Andy, did you already do subtitles or no?
No, I haven't yet. Did you?
No. Wait, more up. There, okay, wait, there it is. Turn subtitles on. I couldn't remember where to go for a second.
I never said butt. What the hell?
It translated Andy's laugh to butt. No.
Indy's laughter?
I must not enunciate very well, and the Skype fucking translate thing makes me very aware that I do not speak clearly.
sudden, I see it very well in the Skype. That is gold.
Case in point. See, I can't even get out what I'm trying to say.
You can't even enunciate.
I mean, you guys can clearly understand me, right? It's just Skype being a fucking bitch.
What? Can you?
I never
say
said
that
no.
again?
What the hell?
It looked like I lost the fucking subtitles. They all went away. You guys can. Yeah. Okay. So Skype understood that when I went on my little rant there.
It likes to do that little star thing with the word fuck, which is weird.
It did it with bitch too.
Hawk.
Skyhawk.
Yeah, we tried testing this the other day, Andy. When you
Skyhawk. What the?
we were trying to say like Mike Hawk and see if Mike Hawk comes up.
Hey, it says Mike Hawk.
It does say Mike Hawk.
Again, see, I'm not enunciating, so it's not
Mike
getting
Hunt.
Mike Hawk. It's getting Mike Hawk. Just what I intended it to get in the first place. Hello and welcome to another episode of Bryan Super Friends. I'm your host, Bryan Labick. Joining me for this episode is Andy Stoles.
What's up, podcast people?
And Mike Bradley.
I had a plan to steal that for this episode, and then you announced him first. So, kind of
Keeping you guessing.
It's kind of my thing to fuck up the intro and then complain about it. So that's my that's my thing. So
like I purposely try to switch it around just to keep you on your toes, but I'm really proud of myself every time I do this and you admit to being thrown off, because I figure at some point you're going to be ready for the point that I put you in.
Yeah, like tonight I was ready for that first slot, and then fucker, you just went to the other one.
See, you got too comfortable.
I guess. I mean.
All right, so I'll be honest, we weren't really sure what to record for this episode. So we have some ideas for some upcoming episodes. Actually, we were talking about that off air. A lot of them are MCU themed, and with Captain Marvel and Endgame steadily approaching, we wanted to try to get something in that vein to I guess they'll come out between the two. We have stuff planned between the two movies. We got about a month and a half. No, 2 months. No, yeah. About 2 months, because it's beginning of March, end of April, so about 2 months to play with there, to put some stuff in there. So as long as everything goes according to plan, you'll be seeing some hopefully fun stuff, or listening to some hopefully fun stuff coming through.
They might be using a visualizer. Jeez.
Well, they could, yeah. That would work. Let's just see the wavy lines go up and down.
Yeah.
I think all the work I do on like the Jeopardy games that goes unseen by the audience is a shame. I put a lot of work into those panels and making a page up so that it actually looks like a Jeopardy board.
We'll let you record the whole next one on your phone, and you can put it up on YouTube.
Pass.
I'm actually surprised there isn't like a website that'll let you make your own Jeopardy boards.
There probably is.
I was gonna say that could be $1 million idea, Andy.
Yeah. I mean, if there's not already, that could be like the new cornhole. For smart people.
All right, so for this one, even though we weren't really sure what to do, we kind of decided to come up with something a little bit easy and just catch up with each other. So we went for the What's Up With You style episodes. So if you haven't listened to those before, It's a little more casual. We just kind of talk about what we've been watching, playing, reading, anything else we've been up to lately. And I don't know, we just end up gushing about something we, want to gush about, or there's stuff we want to rant about. Either way, hopefully you'll learn something. And we sort of picked an order beforehand. So we're going to go Andy first. Michael mentioned something, and then we'll end with me, and we'll just loop back around for whatever we want to cover. So that's all I got. Andy, if you want to kick us off.
Sure. I'm going to talk about some of the stuff I've been watching on Netflix.
Ooh, okay.
So, I'm going to start with Voltron. Finished it.
Ooh, good pick.
Oh man, we're going to try and keep the spoiler free, I'm guessing.
Please,
Yes.
I have not started yet. I am planning that.
You haven't even started Voltron yet?
Not yet. that is actually was something I was planning for next week during the week.
It burns us. It's excellent from beginning to end, and it only gets more complex and endearing the more you watch it, in my opinion.
How long ago did you start it? Have you been starting when it first came out, or you catch up?
First came out. I've been trying to keep up. A couple of times. Maybe I didn't get to the newest season right away, but every time there's new episodes, I make it a point to watch them.
Yeah, I know. I think I could speak for Eric and Romano also. I know the two of them were watching it pretty religiously too. And I think the first couple of seasons, they were like full seasons of 13 episodes or something.
Yeah, and then it got goofy in the middle, and they started doing these weird 6-episode seasons, and that threw me off a little bit. So it seemed like season 4.0 and then episode 4.5, and it was odd. But
yeah, I don't know if they just got to a point where it was it's animation probably takes a long time to make, but they still wanted to get stuff out there to keep people interested in the show, so they were doing these half-season things.
Right.
They were coming out quicker, you were just getting less content.
Isn't that kind of what Rebels did? By releasing half seasons?
I don't remember Rebels doing half-season. I mean, I think
did
their
10
seasons
episode
were shorter.
They did 10 episode, when you went to buy them, I can tell you you would buy season 2 part 1, that was the first 10 episodes, and then you would buy season 2 part 2, which was the next 10.
Well, I think they did the typical TV season stuff where they'd start in the fall, and then they'd take a break of 2 or 3 months and then come back and finish up.
Okay, that actually, yeah, that makes sense. Because
they always had their mid-season break, just like most other shows did.
Yeah, I forget that a lot of shows have been doing that. Sorry, didn't mean to derail the conversation.
No, you're good.
Oh no, it's fine. Bryan, you watched it, I take it?
Yes, yeah, I did finish it, yes.
What did you think?
Granted, I didn't really watch the 84 Voltron, the old Voltron, so I just kind of caught this when it came out on Netflix and decided to give it a shot, because I knew of Voltron, but I never dove into Voltron, so I was like, yeah, I'd like to check it out. First season especially, I was surprised at how funny the show was.
Yeah, they did a good job at incorporating humor into it.
Yes. And there's an episode later in one of the later seasons where they play D&D, like a D&D type game.
That I love that episode. That episode cracked me up as a former D&D player. Yeah, it's so funny.
Shiro in that episode had me in stitches.
It's great. It's so great. Yeah. Yeah, the thing I really like about Voltron, Mike, and I'm hoping that you'll find this to be something that you'll catch on to as well, is you can kind of associate with each character and how they grow as the series goes on.
Yeah.
Okay. That's always a good thing.
Yeah. I thought they did a really good job of keeping the plot moving while also giving you very nice character portraits on each
There's
of them.
some very good story twists in there.
Yeah.
The story went a lot of places that I did not expect it to do.
No, yeah. Especially there's a couple of things in the final season that I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was this last one the final season or just the newest season?
No, final.
It's final? Okay.
I believe it's over, yeah.
Yeah, it's a complete series right now.
Okay. All the better to start watching it then.
Yeah, you can just engulf it all.
Yes, exactly. I prefer that quite a bit. And I will explain why more later on something I want to talk about.
Oh, okay, cool. Mm-hmm.
And they go quick, too. They're like 20-minute episodes or 25-minute episodes.
That's what I like about it. You can like sit down and just watch an episode, and then you can kick it off and go do something else. Or you can just sit there and just like tape open your eyes and watch the whole thing.
Yeah, it's very, very binge-worthy.
Yeah. The other thing on Netflix that we just finished, and it's also a complete season now, is Series of Unfortunate Events with NPH.
Okay, yeah.
Neil Patrick Harris. Are you guys familiar with that series, the book series, anything?
Not really, personally.
Yeah, okay. I'm kind of in the same boat. I know it exists as a show and as a book series, but I couldn't really tell you anything about either.
Did you guys watch the Jim Carrey movie that was out maybe like 10 years ago?
No.
Also no.
Okay.
Sell us on it, Andy.
I know Josh is into it.
NPH is really good in it. He plays actually the antagonist, Count Olaf, and he pretty much, he plays a different character in each of the books. So these children lose their parents in a giant fire. It's a boy and two girls. One's an infant, and Count Olaf is the basically they get looped into him every time they go to a new location to try and find a foster family.
Okay,
and craziness ensues.
How many seasons?
3 seasons.
Okay.
And it's over, like they stopped it and everything. So
does it follow the books?
I never read the books, but I am very curious to read them now that I've seen this. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to pick them up and start reading them after like the first season or whatever. So.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, I have seen it. I can't really contribute to the conversation for that one because I haven't watched it or anything. But
yeah,
I mean, I've heard good things from people that have seen it.
Yeah, same here. I haven't heard anything bad.
Yeah, it's goofy. I mean,
nothing wrong with
it's goofy, but it's endearing.
Cool.
I'd suggest to give it a whirl. All right. The most recent thing I've watched on Netflix is a show called Russian Doll.
Oh, so that was actually just recommended to me by my buddy's wife.
Mike, have you?
No.
Familiar? Natasha Lyonne from American Pie. I don't know if you know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's the main star on it. It's kind of like a really fucked up Groundhog Day from Bill Murray.
That's how it was described to me.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It does get a little... It feels almost like a whodunit or what's going on the whole time you're watching it, you know?
Okay.
And there should be a season 2. So season 1 left a lot of questions to be answered, in my opinion. There's a lot of expletives in it, so immediately I was like, this is awesome.
That's all it takes to keep Andy happy.
Yeah. But there's a lot of really clever plot twists, in my opinion, to it. And I believe Natasha Lyonne is the one that is either producing or writing this show.
I think somebody told me she wears a lot of hats for that show.
Yeah, she stars in it, and I believe she either created it or is in the writer's room or directing or blah, 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 something or another.
Yeah.
And I believe also, what's her name? Amy Poehler is somehow tied into it.
Oh, okay.
But she is not actually in the show.
Gotcha. Okay.
So.
Yeah, it was recommended to me actually this past weekend. I just haven't started it yet. I intend to. I just haven't got there yet.
We watched it in one night.
I think it's a short season, right? Like 8 episodes or something?
I believe it's 8, yeah. But it's like, we must know! And at the end, you're like, no, we don't know!
So expect a cliffhanger ending. Got it.
Yeah, it's sort of. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some pretty fucked up stuff that goes on in that. So just FYI, expect a little bit of
even just watching a little bit of like the Netflix preview for it.
Yeah,
it's got like a dark comedy type of tone to it.
Oh yeah, but there's a lot of dark to it. So just FYI. And then the last thing that we watched on Netflix is a movie called Io with Anthony Mackie.
Yes,
Oh,
I did watch this.
You did watch Io?
Yes, I did watch.
What did you think?
I thought it was really. It had something, and it just kept falling short of being this amazing movie. It was
right. I was into it, and I'm like, do it, and then never did it.
Exactly. Like it has this awesome like sci-fi future plot going on.
Right, and like the cinematography's amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
And Anthony Mackie, you know, he never really disappoints, honestly, in a role. I've never seen him disappoint.
He was really good in it.
And the whole idea of like somebody that stayed behind when we had to repopulate to another planet to try and fix Earth because of what went wrong.
Yeah.
That's an amazing storyline that just never paid off in any way. It felt like 75% of that movie, I felt like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And the other
and then
20...
the closer you got to the end, you're like, okay, they're ending it in 5 minutes. This is going to suck.
Exactly. Like, this needs to not end on this note that they're going to end it on. It needs to not... It happened. God
and then the credits,
it.
and you're just like, son of a... God, come on.
Exactly.
This could have been really cool, and it just wasn't. So, Bryan, think WALL-E, except there were humans that stayed behind.
Okay.
That's actually really good.
Except for like trash, it's toxicity in the air.
Okay.
I think what did they? It wasn't. Oh, what was it? Carbon dioxide that they were breathing in. They mentioned that the actual chemical, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, there was some chemical imbalance in the air, and there was still pockets of breathable air on the planet.
But you had to be in like higher altitudes and stuff.
Right, but then a storm would blow in and it would blow a bunch of the bad air into places and it would shift things. And it was, again, so many cool fucking ideas.
Yeah,
and
I'd say, like Mike, I probably enjoyed 75% to 80% of that movie. And then there are a couple of moments where I'm like, no, don't. Aww.
Yeah. The whole...
Well, bottom line, would you guys recommend it for people to watch?
I'd still say yes.
Yes. I feel like as disappointed as I was with the ending, that it still, like, I sort of had this... It still had this ire of majesty to it, in my opinion. You know,
okay.
I was, like, watching it with, like, starry eyes, like, wow, you know?
If you like the apocalyptic drama... This is fantastic for, like we said, the 80% of the movie.
Yeah, some parts of it actually felt like, what was that movie, I Am Legend?
Yes. Yeah. There's parts of it where it has that tone to it without the monsters.
Right.
You know. But it definitely... It worked on so many levels. And then... Damn it.
Poof. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But if you're a fan of Anthony Mackie, I didn't really recognize the girl.
No.
But I looked her up on IMDb, and she did have some other credits, but they were...
Obscure?
Yeah. Or something that I just wouldn't have watched.
You'd recognize her dad.
Yeah.
He's... He plays Stryker in X-Men Origins.
Yep.
That guy plays there's like only like 3 people whose faces you really see in this whole thing. And it's the 2 of them and her dad.
Right.
I can't recall any other faces that you actually see.
You hear a voice.
Yeah, you hear the one voice, but
Yeah,
I don't think you actually see it.
Yeah, no, you don't actually see that person. So
yeah,
Gotcha.
I'd watch it because that 80% that's good is still worth the 20% that's bad. This isn't like The Circle where it was like it's nothing like that. Like, this is not a complete like disappointment.
Yeah, highly
of a movie.
recommend not watching The Circle. Yeah, but this one, yeah, if you're Anthony Mackie fan, I'd give it a whirl.
Cool.
Maybe the things that it dropped underneath for us will go over for you. Well, so I don't know.
Yeah,
that's fair.
But that has been my Netflix.
And that was like your first little category or whatever. You said you had like 6 categories or whatever, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm going to add to
Making
his
sure you
category.
didn't do 3 of your 6 just now.
Before I start my first own, since it is Netflix, and ask if either of you guys have done Bandersnatch. I say done because it's not really watch, it's also experience Bandersnatch.
Right. It's like interactive somehow, right?
Yeah, you actually have to watch it on, like, we did it on PlayStation. To watch it, you have to have a controller.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not do that, no.
Definitely do it. It's like...
choose your own adventure type of stuff.
Yes. So, like, the general plot is that it's kind of a horror comedy sort of thing.
So it's typical, like, Black Mirror fashion.
Yes. Standard Black Mirror type stuff that you would expect.
Okay.
And the story is essentially that a young man in the 80s develops, it might be 70s, I can't remember if they said late 70s, early 80s, but he develops his own, like, IP video game called Bandersnatch. And it's all about him trying to get the game published, finish writing, the code for the game, all that stuff. This is the basis of the back end of the plot. And the shit that happens is awesome. And there actually is ways to lose.
Oh, wait, you can lose?
Yes, you can lose and have to start over.
I was going to say, is there replayability to this?
Yeah, well, what it does, like, so if you get to a point where, like, you make certain decisions that result in a loss, it reverts you back to the beginning, plays through all your decisions that you made up to that point, and then lets you make the other choice.
Okay.
And say, like, okay, so you decided to do this, and this is where you kind of started to fuck up, because if you match this with this with this, you lose. So we take you back to that first choice, and you can choose to do the same and then maybe do something different afterwards that changes things, or you can choose the different choice there and see what happens afterwards. So, or you can choose to quit. So, like, usually, like, a loss ends in your own death in some way. You know, I mean, like, they actually film different losses for you. So that, like, it's not just like, oh, you lose, we don't have anything. It's, this is what happens because you made this choice. You're dead. So, when that choice...
I remember reading those books and turning to that page and going, fuck, and having to turn back to the other pages.
Yes. and it does it for you. It's worth the experience. Do I think they told a great story? No. Because there's not one story. You know, like, this story can play out in several different ways, and it legitimately can, so it's really fun to do. And I'm sure soon there will be a drinking game attached to it in some way.
It's the first show of that sort, right? That actually has, like, the interactive capabilities.
I don't know of any others.
One that's... Right, or one that's, hasn't been as popular, I guess. But
it's at least the one that's making headlines right now.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say, there could be other things out there, but leave that for the comments section, guys. If you know of any others, we'll totally get a comment about that.
Mike, have you played through it more than once, or
Chili.
you just done it once?
What we did was when we did it originally, like, we failed several times, trying to get to an actual ending. So we played through it, and then once you finish it, it'll actually, like, you finish, like, either, like, happy true ending or happy bad ending, which there's several of both, I think. And it'll give you the option to go back to different points in the story and continue on from that point instead of restarting the whole thing, to try and see what happens if you make this decision instead. Even if you get to the ending, you can replay parts of it to see what else happens. So we played through several, and not knowing how many there was, we just kind of said, okay, we've seen 4 or 5, 6, whatever it was, and we just said, okay, that's enough. It's still just, I recommend doing it once or twice. Doing the 4, 5, 6 thing that we did, it got a little boring.
All right.
But I just wanted to throw that in while he was talking about Netflix, because I feel like it's something we hadn't talked about that's very much up our alley.
Yeah, it's like I knew of it, but I didn't know how connected it was to the other Black Mirror stuff, which I haven't watched, so I wasn't really going on my way to watch
Black
it.
Mirror typically isn't connected.
Yeah, it's like the Twilight Zone, where every episode's a little bit disconnected from all the other ones.
Yeah, it's not a continuous show. You can pick up any episode and watch, which is one of the things I love about it.
Yeah, then maybe I'll have to try to check it out.
So, should I move on to my actual first thing?
Yeah, if you're going under your thing, go for it.
Okay. So the first thing I have on my list, I'll just go right into the movie since it's at the top of the list. I talked to Bryan and Josh about this a little bit pre-show, mentioning that I got to see it because I was excited. It's a movie called The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot, starring Sam Elliott. And what is that guy's name? Why is his name skipping out on me? The guy from... Damn it, Office Space. Ron Livingston.
Okay.
Those are your stars here. Sam Elliott is...
Got some star power then.
Honestly, for a movie called The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot, when I first seen the title of the movie, I was shocked when I seen that Sam Elliott took the lead in it. Because that right there changes it from a silly-sounding movie with the title to, well, shit, if Sam Elliott's in it and he's playing the lead, maybe we need to pay attention to this. And you absolutely need to pay attention to this movie. It is maybe my favorite performance ever from Sam Elliott.
Wow.
The basis of the movie is that he plays... which you might consider like a grizzled old war veteran, who, in his time, had been the man responsible for killing Hitler. It tells its own story as to why, the story that we know as far as history goes of Hitler killing himself with Eva Braun in the bunker isn't true. It tells its own story and explains how he actually killed Hitler and why that isn't the case. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it does tell the story as to why that happens. Sufficiently so. And the story's told in a monologue from Sam Elliott that is one of the better comments on society itself that I have ever heard in a movie. So it's 100% for that monologue alone. It is worth watching that movie. That said, Sam Elliott, he plays a grizzled war veteran who had killed Hitler in his time, and some G-men come to see him. Can't remember if they identify themselves as being from the FBI or not, but basically the case is that the Bigfoot is real, and it is spreading a virus across the Northwest that's killing a bunch of animals in a wilderness area that will eventually be kind of like a bird flu to us, and they need him to go track it and kill it. Because other people have tried, so on and so forth, and evidently it turns out that he is somehow immune to the virus that it's spreading to people. They tested people, whatever, and among their war hero soldier types like that, he was the one who was immune. Whatever. They need him to go and do it. And the story progresses from there. And the whole time, this movie is never about him killing Hitler or him killing the Bigfoot. And I think that is the most important thing to note. This is not... This movie is absolutely a drama, but it has its comedy. Don't get me wrong in any way. It has its comedy, and it plays it very well. But if you ask me to summarize the plot in a more distinct way, I'd say it's a story about an old man and his dog. More than it is about killing Hitler and the Bigfoot. Which I think is a very interesting take on it. Amy, on the other hand, tried to watch the movie and couldn't get through it. So I think it's a matter of taste, for sure. But I can't recommend it enough. It is absolutely worth whatever price you have to pay to see it. And
so where did you watch it? Did you
how did you watch it?
It's a rentable independent film. So instead of being like the normal $4 or $5 to rent, it's more like $7 or $8.
Okay.
But as soon as I seen it, I had to watch it. I didn't, I wasn't going to wait any longer.
How did you hear about it before it came out?
Originally, I heard about this movie when I was researching the top movies for 2019 list. I was seeing, just kind of like looking through pages. Yeah, it was
one of your honorable mentions or something, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I believe. I know I talked about it on that show.
I remember it being brought up at some point.
Honorable mention or not specifically, but yeah, just researching what movies were coming out that I might not have heard about yet. I came across this one. I'm really glad I did. I can't, like I said, I can't recommend it enough.
Was it a book before a movie?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it was honorable mention for you, Mike. I verified.
Okay. The best I could do for you on that is just Google it real quick. Because I honestly don't know. I didn't research any further. I'm lazy like that.
All right. Well, at least that's enough to go on for the movie anyway. If somebody wants to check it out.
It sounds kind of neat. The title of it makes it sound like it's a B movie.
Yeah.
Like a goofy B movie.
I do not see anything here about it being a book.
Okay.
Currently it's sitting at 75% from Rotten Tomatoes, which isn't so bad for a movie with that title. It's not a movie to miss. It's definitely worth the time. And it's not very long either. It was only about an hour and a half. Like old movie standard length, not new movie standard length.
Gotcha. All right. Is that your first pick?
Or do
you have like a... Okay. No. I didn't know if you had a little group like Andy or not.
No, I don't for the movie. That's the only big new movie I watched. I could mention that I finally got to watch Ralph Breaks the Internet today. That became available to rent, so I checked that out. It was fun. I don't think it was as good as the first movie, but it was still fun. And I already spoiled Groot for Andy, so I'll say that was definitely my favorite scene.
What did you spoil?
The baby Groot cameo in Ralph Breaks the Internet.
When did you spoil that for me? Besides right now,
when we were doing the 150th.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, I didn't spoil what happens, and I'm still not going to do it. But it is fucking hilarious, and
okay,
definitely my favorite moment in the movie.
I still need to see that one. I recently got to watch the first one with Emily, so we were waiting for the second one to come out.
You'd seen the first one before, right?
I had. She hadn't.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that first one is top tier for me. I love that movie.
Absolutely.
Such a great movie.
Yeah, I don't think this one's like bottom tier or anything. It just didn't have the same magic that the first one did for me.
I think a lot of what was good about that movie, I feel like, was in the previews, and a lot of there's a key sequence somewhere in the middle that I think was screened at like Comic-Con or some sort of convention that I read about before seeing the movie. So I knew a lot about what happens there. And then there wasn't too many other surprises or anything that really jumped out at me with the rest of the movie. So I was a little bit, it was middle of the road for me. I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't think it blew the lid off the place like the first one did.
I felt it felt very standard fare.
Yeah. But I think that comes off of, like, I love the first one so much that I think this one was very, very highly anticipated for me. So I think I had very high hopes for what it should be, and it just didn't hit that.
I'd agree.
All right, shall we move to my turn? Should I chime in with something?
Go right
If
ahead.
you would like.
All right, I'll pick something. We sort of discussed beforehand. I have like 3 movies that I've seen that I'll talk about, 1 show that I wanted to talk about, and then a little group of video games. So we're sort of doing shows and movies and stuff, so I'm just going to pick one of these movies that I'd seen. I did get around to see Glass. Did either of you see Glass? That's
the third in the trilogy?
Yes.
Okay. I still haven't seen Split.
Okay. It didn't go the way I expected it to, and I'm trying to find a way to talk about this movie without really getting into specifics because it's going to be hard to do. Unbreakable, I think, for its time, was ahead of its time. I think if you go back and watch that movie now, I think it plays better now that we are entrenched in comic book culture and superheroes and stuff like that. It's a very good counter-programming type of movie, but that same genre. It kind of puts it on its head a little bit.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah. Split was secretly disguised as like a supervillain movie, which you don't really know until the end of the movie. And then Glass tries to put it all together and works for most of the time. And the whole third act, there's like twist after twist after twist to the point where it's like when you start to think about it, it's like, did that work?
It's a Shyamalan thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What a twist.
And I would have been fine with like 2 of the 3 twists, but like I think there's just too many where like you feel like it's going to end and then something else happens. It's like, nope, it's actually this. And you're like, all right, I'll just go with it now. But I mean, McAvoy still fucking kills it in these movies. Between Split and Glass, he is phenomenal. And I think he goes through more personalities in Glass than he did in Split, which makes it even more fun to watch him in this movie. Sam Jackson and Bruce Willis don't feel like they get a lot to do. Like, I feel like they have not a lot of screen time, considering they're like supposed to be like headlining this movie.
Going in, I haven't seen it yet, but I did feel like that was going to be the case from watching the previews, that it was going to be focused around McAvoy's character.
I mean, they all are the focus of the story. I think McAvoy gets more screen time, I think maybe just because they realize he's that fucking good.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not complaining about him having that opportunity, because he was amazing in Split.
So I'd recommend seeing it, especially if you've seen the other 2. It's probably worth watching to just try to complete this trilogy.
So, from someone who hasn't seen Split or Glass and loves Unbreakable, you'd recommend seeing both?
Yes. I don't know. I'd temper your expectations for Glass. I think the Split.
I see what you did there.
Honestly, that was not intentional. I'm glad you caught that because I just would have flew over my own head. See, now I lost my train of thought because I'm so proud of myself for unintentionally doing that. The way that Split ends, it sets up Glass in a way for, I think, maybe just having expectations for how that movie should play out, and I don't feel like it plays out the way I wanted it to. There are moments of it in there, and I don't know if it's just Shyamalan trying to play with the comic book genre in a different way, that he has to do something completely different and twisty, that it I don't know, left me disappointed with the way it ended up. But
I can remember back to a time, and like for me, M. Night Shyamalan has always been very hit and miss. I can remember back to a time where Tosh Point oh, if you guys ever watched that, he had a brief segment he would call the M. Night Shyamalan twist ending to a video. And I feel like sometimes the one that I always remember the most is there's a guy lifting weights on his floor, And the M. Night Shyamalan twist ending is a chihuahua dragging its asshole across the floor right by him as you think he's about to like drop weights on himself or something stupid's about to happen. That happens, and to me that embodies about half of Shyamalan's movies, that he does twists sometimes just for the sake of a twist.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of some of the issues I've taken with some of his films. But
I haven't seen some of his middle of the road films. Like I watched Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Signs, and sort of fell off in Village, and kind of fell off after that.
Okay.
I think I just did Unbreakable and Signs. I don't know that I even watched The Sixth Sense. I had it spoiled by so many fucking people. I didn't even bother.
Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, I think, work really well because they really only have one twist at the end.
Yes.
It's the reveal of what happens that you've been watching the whole time, and then your mind is blown. This movie, I could probably count them 3 different twists that happen one after the other, all in the third act, and that throws you for a loop. I don't know if it's meant to disorient you that way, but I just felt like I was walking out just like, what the fuck? Like
And that's where I come off with what I was trying to get to with the Chihuahua example, is so many of the twists that he's done are just like, what the fuck was the point of that twist?
Yeah.
As opposed to like, oh, that really worked. Like,
now granted, some of his I think his movies play better knowing the at least the good ones play better knowing the twist when you watch it again. Now, I've only seen Glass once, so if I watched Glass again, knowing how it ends, it may or may, it might alter how I feel about the movie.
I would say some of that's true. Like The Village, for example, if you only consider the first twist at the end of The Village, where, it was not a monster in any way or anything, that whole twist that they played, that one, I agree. Knowing that ahead of time plays very, very well. That last second twist that he threw on for no fucking reason at all that still irks me to this day in The Village. It doesn't matter. Like that's the one that I come back to at the point where I said, God damn it. Like, and then I had to be talked into watching M. Night Shyamalan movies after that.
Yeah, Robot Chicken actually had, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 episodes, where they actually had a M. Night Shyamalan doll come up onto the screen and go, what a twist, every time something happened.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yes.
What a twist.
So, I mean, if either of you guys end up getting around to Glass, Andy, if you see Split and then Glass, let me know. We can, not even on air, but at some point, we can talk about the specific twists in Glass, and I'm just curious what everybody else thinks of that movie.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure I'll watch it as soon as it comes to home video. You know what I mean? Like, as soon as I can home video. As soon as I can rent it on Amazon or something, I'm sure I'll watch it.
Let's go to Harrison City Video and pick up the VHS.
But it's not in stock. No.
That's our old stomping ground, Andy.
Oh, yeah. I remember looking at all the Sega games, like, I want to rent all of these.
I would end up going back renting the same game over and over again. I wouldn't try new things. I couldn't tell you how many times I rented the fucking Lion King.
Yeah. Because that game's fucking hard.
It is hard.
I can remember when I was a kid, the game that I always wanted to rent with the fucking, I think it was Video Hits in Oakmont, never would have it in stock when I would show up. I'd go to rent it, and it was Maximum Carnage. Every time I went in, Maximum Carnage.
Super NES or Sega?
Super NES.
Nice. Okay.
And they had the 2 copies of it, the 2 boxes, the old SNES boxes right on there, and they were always flat against the fucking thing, and it was just like, God damn it. Every time. That was the only game I wanted to rent. And because I couldn't get my mom to buy it.
It's a great game.
I know.
It's a really good game.
Now I know that. Back then I never got to find out. My mom wouldn't buy it for me. I had to try and rent it on my own because it had like a scary looking cover or whatever, and
and what the soundtrack was done by Green Jello or Green Jelly or whatever their names were,
something like
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, I so badly wanted to rent that game, and every time you show up and it wasn't there. It just wasn't there.
I think we all have those stories back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh my god, video stores
That is the worst
bad.
thing though. When that box was flat against the thing, you didn't see the video game or video behind it. You're like, son of a
Stuff that kids today will never realize because now they can rent everything digitally.
Yeah, you go up to the counter, you're like, you didn't by chance happen to get that back just now, did you?
Oh my god, I remember that. Or you could reserve it when someone came back in, they would hold you a copy.
Right.
Shit. Back in my day.
Yeah. 3 feet of snow. 45-degree angle to school each way.
So that's my first pick. So we'll get over back to Andy.
Okay, you guys might be surprised, but my next one is a theater movie.
You mean you went to the
actually
theater?
went to the theater for something.
Theater
What?
and saw a movie.
What?
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
You have my attention.
We went to go see How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Oh, that is on my list for later.
Oh god, I can't remember the subtitle of it though.
The Hidden World.
Yeah, The Hidden World. Yeah, that one. Wow. I really liked the first two movies. You know, I thought they did a really good job of entrancing me into the world of the dragon. I mean, Toothless is awesome, right? He's funny and cute and all that stuff. And they always have a way of giving you like the feels during these movies. I don't know if you get the same way, but yeah. So you've seen the third one, Brian?
Yes.
Okay. You have not, Mike?
I thought Brian said that was on... Oh, later on your list, you mean like to talk about now?
Yeah, sorry. Today.
Okay.
It was one of my ones to talk about later.
Gotcha. No, okay. No, I have not seen it yet.
You've seen the first two?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're fucking awesome.
I think this movie is a fantastic way to end this trilogy. Like,
yes.
Just, especially like, I don't know, maybe like the last 10 minutes of the movie, it just got all giddy. It was awesome. You know?
That's actually what we did when we finished recording the 150th. Later that night, we did the double feature.
We watched one of them. I don't think we watched the second one.
Oh, did we not get to the second one?
Because Sarah borrowed the second one from me.
Ah, okay. So we watched the first one. Got it. Sorry.
Yes.
Didn't mean to interrupt you, Andy.
No, both are excellent movies, so either one, or both. But, I can't say it enough how much the feels got me on this movie specifically. Wow.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how far the 3D animation has come, but because I was seeing shit that I was like, whoa. Well, that is...
Did you see it in 3D in the theater?
That is some detail. No, I didn't see it. I guess not 3D animation, but it's not, like cell animation.
You mean...
Okay. You're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Computer animation.
Yeah, CG.
Yeah, I think there was specifically like we were talking. The people I saw it with Leslie and Eric, and I think we were specifically talking about like being mesmerized by like the hair follicles on people's heads, the way they move.
It's crazy.
There's a scene where they draw in the sand, and I was mesmerized by each little sand pebble, the way that was animated.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was legit crazy. And we were like, it was kind of a packed theater, so we were in like one of those front rows, where like you're kind of like leaning back and you're like, this is huge,
See, you've been out of the game too long. You're not getting to the theater early enough.
Yeah, I know. It's bad. But that and I just don't like people, so when we walked in, there was like a person in every row, and I'm like, fuck this, I'm going to have my own row, So...
And there's always that person that like sits like one seat away from you, even though the rest of the row's empty.
And that exactly happened. The movie started, and then a family of like 3 kids go over, and they sit right in front of us, one seat over to the left, and I'm like, oh. But they were good. They didn't like make a peep. It was awesome. But yeah, I couldn't say how I absolutely love that movie, and I love that whole trilogy. I thought they really brought the hammer down and just totally encapsulated an awesome freaking trilogy.
Yeah, it's rare for trilogies to be solid the whole way through.
Yeah.
If you nail the first one, it's hard to nail the second one, and if you nail the first two, the third one usually falls flat. This is a really, really solid fucking trilogy.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Ninja Turtles 3.
Wait, that was it was. Fuck.
And I think like the other thing I really appreciate too for the animation is like they're not reusing like character models from the first movie that then carry over to the second and stuff. Like they're aging these characters through every movie, so they have to animate them differently, and they look different, and they grow old, and that in itself is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it feels like the tones in each of those movies grow up with the characters. I really liked the third one. But I didn't feel like it was as funny as the other two.
No,
and I think that falls in line with the tone of the movie.
Yeah, it definitely had less comedic timing. Toothless has comedic timing pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah, but the rest of it didn't. Like, Hiccup didn't seem to be quite so
right.
Spunky.
Yeah, ridiculous. Well, he was still spunky, but he wasn't so goofy anymore.
Plucky.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I always got a kick out of, I can't remember the character's name. The guy with the one hand, the trainer.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome.
Craig Ferguson.
Yeah, it's Craig Ferguson, but
he's still awesome in this one, although he doesn't get quite as much screen time as you would like. I will tell you, though, what annoyed the absolute shit out of me in this movie were the fucking twins. Oh, God, every time they talked, I wanted to punch something.
Isn't that the way in every movie?
But they don't get a lot of screen time in any.
They got a lot more screen time in this movie.
They get a ton of it in this one, and I'm just like, their voices just started grating on me. I'm like, no.
What's funny, too, is like the guy twin was voiced by T.J. Miller in the first two. Was not voiced by T.J. Miller in this movie.
No, he was not.
They ditched him. I wonder why.
Well, they got the same guy that does the Netflix show.
And I figured he had some experience voicing that character because he does his best T.J. Miller impression.
Yes.
But it is not T.J. Miller. But it's funny that the movie that T.J. Miller gets cut from is the one where his character gets the most screen time.
Right.
Well, I mean, when you're making a movie for children and you have a guy like T.J. Miller in the cast that's not good with what he was accused or convicted or whatever the hell it was. So I can understand.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could say that I didn't like about the movie, where I just thought that the twins were uber annoying.
Yeah. I mean, they're meant to be.
They are.
They play it for comedy, but if they drive you up a wall to begin with, you're not going to find it funny.
Yeah, it was more like every time I saw them, it was like, like nails on a chalkboard. I was like, oh, it burns us. Stop it. Yeah, so. But besides that, I mean, if you overcome that, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I would agree.
Oh, again, that's one I will definitely see on home video when it comes. It's just, I explained to you guys earlier. I'm not getting out for as many movies right now.
I got chills so many times during that movie. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, Mike, you want to go to your next one?
Mm-hmm. I can do that. Let me take a quick gander at the list here. Since we're still kind of on movies, I'll keep it in that general zone. But I'm not on a movie. I'm onto a TV show. And this goes to what we were saying before about power watching and how I so greatly prefer it. And this is maybe the biggest example of why it's so great just to wait till a series ends sometimes and then watch. And I am referring to Game of Thrones. Amy and I...
It's not over yet.
I know. No. We're rewatching for about the third or fourth time.
Okay.
The whole series in prep for April when we get our conclusive 4-episode season or whatever it's going to be. Like 4 movie-length episodes, I think, is what it's supposed to be.
It's something weird and different, yeah.
We're just rewatching in prep because there's so many little facets to so many of the little branching storylines that need to be sealed up. And it's just how long we've had to wait to finally get to this April. To get this final season, especially with how the fucking 7th season ends. I'm not going to offer any spoilers. I know Bryan hasn't watched yet. You still need to do this, Bryan.
I know.
He can manage this.
Okay.
Says the guy that's used to all this stuff, and the guy that maybe is more in line with maybe my taste or understands what I can and cannot handle.
Okay,
is second-guessing you.
Okay, no. I'm going to say you can handle it because I don't understand the difference sometimes. That we can discuss this later, but
it seems like it's a bit gory for him to me.
I feel like most of the gore happens off screen, and you don't see most of the bad. You see some of it.
I've heard about some of the things that are get pretty nasty. None of it is like, oh yeah, I definitely want to fucking see that.
No, but what I'm saying is you don't actually totally see it. You know it happens. You see the motion that causes something to happen. But quite often...
There's some pretty damn gory stuff in there, man.
There is, but I'm talking about the worst things.
All right, so this is a conversation we could have another time. I don't want to take up too much time talking about if I can or cannot handle this. We'll just move on.
You should just watch it and find out. And then if you can't, stop watching it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a litmus test I feel like taking right now.
If you can get past the goriness, it's a fantastic show.
I would agree to that. I just don't know. It's not something I'm going to go out of my way to watch just because to see if I can or can't handle it.
You still should. Anyways, the point I was getting to is that we have this final season coming up. We have the giant cliffhanger that ended season 7. And we're rewatching the series now. I want to say we just started season 6. I think we're 1 episode in. So, the whole crazy shit that happens up at the, the Night's Watch at the end of season 5. That's still very fresh, and it hurts every time. Those fucking bastards, it hurts every time. Again, I'll keep it spoiler-free just in case Bryan happens to decide to watch it.
It's worth it, but...
it's worth keeping it spoiler-free on that moment because it's such a big thing.
Yep.
But that being said, I'm definitely looking forward to this. I feel like maybe, even if Bryan doesn't do it, we should do a prep show for the new season with Josh, Andy. Just throwing that out there.
I still haven't. I would love to rewatch everything, but I haven't. Every time a new one comes out, I just kind of watch the new one.
Okay.
I haven't done any of my review watching again. Cause I like to do that sometimes, so you can pick up little nuances you didn't maybe notice before, especially knowing how things kind of turn out.
Right.
So I would love to do that. I don't know that I have the time.
I just meant a prep show for the new season, as opposed to anything like that. If Bryan can manage to talk Josh into it, I don't know. But nonetheless, I just want to point out how amazingly hyped I am for the upcoming season. And the only final thought I would have about this, it's hard to really talk about without spoiling a lot. So my final thought, before I pitch it on to Bryan's next thing, is that if Arya does not kill Cersei, I'm going to riot. It's going to be a single person riot in the street, but Arya has to kill Cersei. Did you know that? Right.
Yeah, did you know that people are actually, Vegas is actually taking bets on who dies first in the show? In the new season.
Who dies first is a really interesting bet.
Right. Yeah, you should see the list. It's crazy, who they, have as, the front runners and stuff. It's pretty awesome.
Did you put money on that?
I'm not putting money on it. Fuck no. That shit is crazy who dies in that fucking show.
Yeah, I was going to say, if someone died, I would put money on, but to say who's going to die first... the way the season 7 ends is they're heading towards an all-out fucking world-ending war.
Yep.
So the chances for any of them to die at any moment, there's 2 people we know aren't going to die. That's it. I'd say there's only 2 people, and even that with with the way this show goes, not even with George R. R. Martin, just the way this show goes, I'd say there's only one that's definitely not going to die. So all that being said, if I was going to bet, Davos. He was the kind of the right hand to Stannis for so long, until Stannis died.
The Onion Knight.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. If I had to bet on first one to die, he's an easy character to kill off that people really like, but doesn't have a lot to do left anymore.
I guess that's true, yeah. I would hate to see him go. I do like his character.
He's one of the only ones I think that remained noble the entire time.
Yeah.
I never questioned his actions and said, he shouldn't be doing that. He's a dick. No, he
which
always does
is,
the right thing.
Yeah, which is crazy because he's a smuggler. Like someone else from Star Wars. Always doing the right thing, huh? No, okay, sorry. I'll stop that now.
All the same, that's why I wanted to leave it on. Again, if Ari doesn't kill Cersei, I riot. I'm not going to say we because I don't know if I have a movement behind me on that. But I hope I do. I hope everybody feels the same about that. And I'll throw it to Bryan.
All right. Let's see. Andy took another one of my movie things that I was going to bring up, so I won't talk about that again. The only other movie that I saw in the theater was Alita.
Oh, the Battle Angel.
Yeah.
That caught a lot of flack before it came out. Everyone was not happy about that movie coming out for some godforsaken reason.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I know it's based on like a manga comic.
Right.
So I don't know, which I didn't read or anything, so I don't know how long that book series is, how many issues there are for it, or what. The movie, technically, like from a CG standpoint and what they try to do technically for the movie, it is gorgeous. It feels like 2/3 of a movie.
Oh, okay. Missing the third act, or
it feels that way. Yeah, I think there was. To me, it feels like the story. Like there must have been more to this story that's dragged out over how many books, and it was getting to the point where I thought the movie was going to end, and then it kept going. So I was like, oh, okay, they're just truncating all the books into one single movie, and we're gonna see how this ends. And then 10 minutes later, it ends, and you're like, wait, what? No, the third act is happening. This is where the end happens, and then it just credits. So I feel like they truncated where they shouldn't have, and if they were planning on making more movies, a lot of the stuff at the end of the movie should have been dragged out some more because they really rushed some stuff at the end of the movie. And there are two people that pop up and are never really. I mean, there's one guy that's alluded to as being the main villain, and there's a higher profile actor that plays him, and you don't realize it until the end, who's just shown and doesn't do anything in the movie. And then there's one face that you recognize that pops up in the middle for no apparent reason and goes away, and you never see them again. So I don't know if there was more written for these people, or if they're trying to save them for eventual next movies, which I have a feeling will not happen because I don't think this movie's doing very well.
Do you suppose
at the box office?
Do you suppose they were Easter eggs for the hardcore fans?
Maybe. I mean, the second guy that I mentioned that you see, like basically really just his head on a bigger body.
Talking about Ed Skrein?
And no.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because that sounds like Ed Skrein's from the previews, but...
Yeah, see, I wouldn't consider... I guess, yeah, maybe there's three people. He had an actual role in the movie. It's really inconsequential. Jai Courtney is the guy I'm referring to. Jai Courtney pops up for, like, one scene, and then he's gone. And I don't know if they ever mentioned his name.
Are we complaining about that?
Completely forgot. I'm just saying, like...
I'm sorry.
For putting a face there that I recognize, that I feel like probably has some consequence on who he's playing, and he's supposed to be someone important, and then just completely forget about him the rest of the movie. Like, why put him in there at all? Is my
Good point. Why sign Jai Courtney to be that person and
right.
then not pay off on it at all?
Yeah, he doesn't even have a fucking speaking line. You just see him, and then it's on to the next thing, and then he's gone.
Weird.
That seems like a waste of resources.
Yeah. To pay all the money to like CG a lot of the stuff that he's involved in and then just never use him again. But I don't know. So yeah, the story I think has issues. I can't remember the lead actress's name, but the girl that plays Alita I thought did really, really well. Christoph Waltz is pretty good. Most of the other cast is okay. Jennifer Connelly, her character does like a complete 180 turn in the middle third act of the movie. Just it comes out of nowhere, really. I felt like, again, that's probably something that in the books was drug out over the course of a couple issues or something. So you see a slow turn for that character, but in the movie, it's like that, and it's over, and it's done. And you're like, what the? No. So, yeah, I think Story had issues. The guy that plays, like, her boyfriend type of thing, he started out okay, and then, like, the second half of the movie, I didn't give a shit for him anymore, so some of the story falls flat for what happens there. I don't know. It was on my anticipated list for 2018 because it was originally supposed to be out at the end of the year, and then it got pushed to early 2019. So I was looking forward to this. I think it's worth checking out if you're curious. Just, again, I'd maybe set the bar low and don't expect to see this story continue unless it makes a shit ton of money overseas, because I don't think it's doing well enough here for the budget that it had.
Overseas money, you never know what's going to happen.
Right. And I feel like it's more their wheelhouse, like China and Japan and stuff. They might really, really enjoy this, but... And granted, I don't know anything going in. I've seen a lot of reviews from people that know the source material seem to like the movie, but anybody that's going in blind is kind of having the same feeling that I do.
Yeah, I checked out some reviews for it to see whether or not it was worth, like, skipping out for an afternoon to go check it out by myself.
Yeah.
And the reviews were so mixed. You know what I mean? And some of the positive versus negative reviews seem to be like what you're saying, and some of the positive reviews that I was reading seem to be...
fanboys.
I don't even want to say fanboys. I read so many, like, online reviews on, like, Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that were, instead of actually reviewing this movie... It seemed like they were antagonistically giving it a positive review to spite Captain Marvel in some way. Because all they did was talk about Brie Larson and the comments she made in their review of Alita, and I'm like, can we just get a review of this fucking movie, please? And it really tilted me to say, if so many of the positive reviews, given the fairly low score it already had, were coming from a dishonest place, it couldn't be as good as I hoped it would be. Seeing previews and everything, I really wanted to see it, and then I don't know. I'm disappointed that it sounds like it's not as good as it could have been.
I mean, I think it looks really good on the big screen if you wanted to go out and try to see it, but if you don't mind waiting, like, I'd just say rent it or, Redbox it or something just to check it out later.
Yeah, that's my plan for that one. Seems like that's my plan for a lot right now. But
so, yeah. Andy, I'm assuming you didn't get out to see this either?
I did not know.
Okay. Yeah, it's one of those things, if you guys see it, we can come back. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it later, whether it's on air or off air. But those are my 2 cents.
Okay.
So I'll throw it back around to Andy.
Okay. The next one I have is just regular TV.
Ooh.
Well, we recently started to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon from Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching, like, just random pieces of that, like, when my niece and nephew were of age and the show was on and whatnot. And I was like, hey, this actually looks like a pretty cool thing, And I never actually got to see M. Night Shyamalan Last Airbender movie?
That I'd never watched the cartoon, but that movie is terrible.
Oh, okay, that's kind of what I heard about it. So
yes, agreed.
So far, Aang is pretty young and still trying to figure out what the hell's going on with, like, all the different element benders and all that kind of fun stuff. But are you guys familiar? Have you watched it?
I actually have not.
No.
I think it's one of those things where I know there's a shit ton of episodes for that, and I just never wanted to dive in with that much of a commitment.
Yeah, we like the shows that have, like, the short run times where we can watch an episode for like 20 minutes and then we don't have to continue, and we can 20 minutes isn't, like, too much of an investment,
Right, yeah.
So, but I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but I caught this. We probably have only watched maybe like 5 or 6 episodes so far, but at least one of those episodes was directed by Dave Filoni.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
I don't know.
I feel like I like it sounds familiar that he was involved with that show, but I don't know if I knew he directed some of those.
Yeah, so I only really paid attention to one or two of the end credits, and I only paid attention to the one that it said it was directed by him, and I was like, oh, that's the guy that does all the cool stuff with Star Wars. And Emily's like, what the hell are you talking about? The guy. He is from Pittsburgh. He's like an animation god for Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, he's hometown too. He's from the area.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're watching that one right now, and so far it's pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard good things from people that have watched it.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued because I've seen like bits and pieces, like I said, like the middle of the stuff. So, but it's definitely still a kid's show, so don't expect a tremendous lot out of it. But yeah, I thought that was neat that Dave Filoni was involved. That I didn't recall knowing that.
Yeah. How many seasons is it? Do you know?
The box set is pretty big.
Is that what you guys are using?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if it was on Netflix or something.
No, but I haven't looked at like the actual count on the episodes and seasons.
Gotcha.
And whatnot,
okay.
So.
Yeah, animation's always funny because like some of those seasons are like 50 episodes, and then the next season's like 10. So it's hard to gauge.
Yeah.
How many seasons are in an episode, or how many episodes are in a season, and all that stuff. So, all right, cool. Yeah, I sadly can't comment on any of that because I haven't watched the show.
Same.
Well, we just started it, but I thought I'd mention it because I thought it was a cool Star Wars connection with Dave Filoni and everything. So.
Yeah. Cool. Mike, anything to add?
Other than not liking the live action movie, I don't have anything on it.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Well, then that was my other category, so I'm going to toss it back to Mike.
Okay. I'm going to dive head first into my comics category for what I've been reading. Because I haven't been reading any books of late, but I have been reading some comics. Just quickly to touch on, I've started going back and reading all the recent, as in like last 15 years or so, major Marvel events over again. So things like Civil War, Secret Invasion, Siege, Fear Itself, X-Men vs. Avengers, all those kinds of things. I just kind of went back and started rereading them. I'm about halfway through Fear Itself now. Just because we have Endgame coming up, and if they're hinting at any of those specific storylines or plots in maybe a post-credit scene or somewhere in the movie, I'd like to be able to pick up on it and recognize it right away so that I can be like, oh, yes, or, oh, why would they do that?
Yeah.
Are you reading them in, like, trade paperback?
I actually have the subscription to Marvel Unlimited.
Okay, so you just, on your tablet or whatever?
Yes, yeah, I can just read them right on my tablet, which is, I mean, if you read a lot of comics like I do, it's a really good deal, because it's like $60 for the year, and you have the entire back catalog of Marvel to read. So, so long as, I think it's like, it's usually like 4 to 6 months behind current for Marvel Unlimited. So, like, if a comic comes out today, 6 months or so from now, it'll hit their catalog. But if I want to go and read the original run of, say, Fantastic Four, I can start at the very first issue and read right all the way up till 4 months ago if I want to. Every single one of those comics is there to read.
Slick?
Yeah, and it's... The catalog is enormous, so it's definitely worth that. The other one that I really would prefer to talk about, because that's really just saying, like, hey, I'm looking for stuff, and I'm rereading those. But I'm doing my first reading of the Miles Morales Ultimate Spider-Man. Okay. I had, never actually read through those comics before. I had known about it, but I never... at that time, I was not buying Spider-Man comics. I was still only just buying X-Men comics at the time. I didn't have Marvel Unlimited at the time, so the option was either buy the comics and start because I was collecting then, so everything I was buying 2 of, one to read, one to store, and it was a problem, so keeping it to just X-Men helped. But I did start reading it, and my goodness, I am really sad that I did not read these long ago. Because this is so far, I'm at like episode, Jesus. I'm at like issue 20 or so. And so far, I am absolutely loving this Miles Morales run.
So the Ultimate Universe, he takes over after Peter Parker dies.
Yes.
So does issue 1 pick up post Peter Parker death?
Yes. Yeah, it picks up
Okay.
with... It's like post Ultimatum, I think is where Peter Parker dies. It's like Magneto, shifts the axis of the Earth, floods fucking New York, destroys everything, and somehow in the aftermath of that, Peter ends up dead.
See, I thought he had his own. From what I remember, and
that's right. He does have his own.
He battles Green. Yeah, he battles Green Goblin like very publicly in front of like his house, doesn't he?
Yeah, Yes. Now I'm actually recalling it because they don't really cover it in the first issue of like how Peter dies. The way they made it sound throughout that whole first issue is like they're pissed off at superhumans in New York. Like people are just pissed off because of what happened, and that's Ultimatum that they're all pissed about. I actually think it's Ultimatum 2, not the first Ultimatum. It's the second one.
Okay.
But they're all pissed about that, so I was just associating it that way. But what you're saying is actually correct. He reveals his identity accidentally. Well, not kind of accidentally, I guess. I can't remember how either way, his identity gets revealed, and then it's in a battle with... Is it Green Goblin that kills him? I thought it was somebody else after that.
I thought it was Green Goblin, but I haven't read the issue. I've read like summaries of the storyline, and I thought that was what I remember reading. Basically, like when I was getting bored for a while, I just Wikipedia like what happens to this character, and I'd go through the timeline of stuff, and it would give me summaries of stuff, but I never actually read the issues.
Okay, so I think it's not Green Goblin that kills him, because there is a point at which it was a rather obscure villain that I'm not recalling. But Miles battles him and says, "Wow, I just took down the guy who killed Spider-Man."
Okay.
So I think it's like a rather obscure villain that kills him, but they found out who he was and attacked him at home after that battle with Goblin.
Okay.
But that's where it picks up. Is Spider-Man has died, and Miles Morales is, just an everyday kid in New York. He's trying to get into a charter school with his best friend, whose name I don't know how to pronounce. Gank. I'm not.
Yeah,
Gonke.
Who's basically the Ned of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, exactly. Same look to the character. A kind of heavy set, Asian or Mexican. Kid, I can't remember. But I think in the comics he's definitely Asian. Concave. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, same kind of character, like comic relief a little bit, and kind of like the fanboy who knows that who Spider-Man is, kind of thing. Who's like all about it. And I even think Gonke's like into Legos as well, like in the Ultimate run here. I think there was something about that in there. And basically, it's kind of the same sort of thing that creates Spider-Man for Miles Morales. He gets bit by a spider. The difference is the spider isn't in like Osborn Labs or anything. His uncle had stolen the spider from Osborn, and then that spider bit him while he was visiting his uncle. And his powers, I was actually surprised because I did not know a whole lot about the character prior to reading this. I knew bits and pieces, but his powers really differ from the original Spider-Man. I think it's Mary Jane or Aunt May gift him Peter's web slingers. But Miles has the ability to go invisible, and he can toxic shock people. which is just these really cool way to see him discovering these abilities, because at first he just kind of thinks he's Spider-Man and he doesn't know these other things, and he doesn't even realize the first time that he goes invisible. It's really cool to watch his powers evolve.
So real quick, Mike, did you end up seeing Spider-Verse? I can't remember.
No, not yet. That's actually just came on
Andy,
to Amazon.
have you seen Spider-Verse?
I did not see it, but I heard it won an Oscar.
Yes, it did. I've talked about it at the top 10 of the year. It's fucking phenomenal. But Mike, sort of what you're referring to now, his wider range of powers is explored in the movie.
Oh, cool.
So you see some of that same stuff.
Yeah, I'm honestly just at Amazon. I'm planning I might just buy it as opposed to renting it, waiting to rent it.
I started reading too. Twitter blew up because people, I don't know if it wasn't announced in the special features, but there is, I guess you must get extra stuff when you buy digitally and stuff. I'm planning on getting the Blu-ray when it comes out, but somewhere in the special features there is an alternate cut of the movie. Like it's an alternate dimension cut that incorporates like deleted scenes and extra stuff, and is 2.5 hours compared to the 1.5 hour movie that you actually get in the theatrical cut. So I'm really excited to see what this other type of movie is, this extended version.
But the extended version is only available in the digital copy?
No, that's only on the copy that he's going to buy.
Right. Currently now, the only version available to buy is the digital version.
Okay, you're waiting for the
people
one
that
has
bought
the
it 3 weeks
I
early
gotcha.
before the video, or before the Blu-ray comes out, are raving about this extra feature that's there. So I'm really curious once I finally own it to see what that is.
See, and that was something I was going to make note of, because for me, the digital copy that I can see on 2 different sources, one shows with the bonus content.
Yeah.
And it shows, I want to say it's like 16 or 18 minutes of additional content onto the time from the movie. Because right next to it's the standard no bonus content version, and it's like 16 to 18 minutes difference. So that's definitely not on that content. I don't know if I can wait the few weeks, so I may just buy it digitally and then just say to you, like, hey, let me borrow that and watch the other version. Because it's now you've put doubt into my head. Like, at first I was like, yes, I'm just going to buy it and watch it. And now I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I'll have to, off air, we'll have to do some research and figure out what versions it's, if it's actually 2.5 hours long, or if that's someone's inflated exaggeration to this extended version. I have no idea.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, for what I've been reading, I was inspired to read a lot of Spider-Man stuff by the PlayStation video game. It delves a little bit into Miles' story, and that made me want to learn more. It also got me to go back and start reading Spider-Man from number 1 on, which I've never done. I've read several of the earlier comics, but I've never read all of them. So, I've read number 1 in Amazing Fantasy 15 before. I've read, 121, 122, Death of Gwen Stacy's story, The Punisher's first appearance. I've read a lot of the key issues, but not the whole Peter Parker story of reading all of those issues. So I started doing that as well with Marvel Unlimited, it's been an interesting experience trying to juggle these two side by side, but it actually provides a nice parallel between the two of them in the story and how they play out.
Yeah, I think if that's where you're reading in Spider-Man, I think you'll get more appreciation from Spider-Verse when you finally see it.
Okay. That honestly might be tonight after the show. I might just go up and buy it and watch it, because I've been chomping at the bit to see it. So that could be very soon.
Yeah, it's hard not to gush about that movie every time I want to talk about it, because it's so fantastic. I'm chomping at the bit, waiting 2 more weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it is, before it finally hits Blu-ray, so I can finally buy it and watch it again.
And again, and again, and again.
And numerous times.
And, hey, just congratulations to the team that made the movie one way or another. Getting an animated Marvel movie to win the best animated feature of the year. Fantastic. Well done.
They got what, Golden Globe too for best animated feature, and they got Oscar for best animated feature.
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah.
Very impressive to beat out Incredibles 2, which seemed like it could be a shoe-in at the beginning of the year. So, yeah, very happy.
The only thing that pains me is, like, every time they accept an award, fucking Avi Arad and Amy Pascal are up on stage accepting the award with all these creative people. And I'm like, what the fuck did you do?
Said, okay, you can do it. That's all he did.
Yeah, you people are worthless.
Well, you'll have that. That, you know, they're going to take the credit that they can take because he's not going to get credit any other way, let's face it. That's the best he's going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't read comics in a while. Mike, I kind of dove into the Miles Morales Spider-Man because at the time, I think it was post Secret Wars 2.
Okay.
When the Ultimate Universe was finally nixed. I think that was the event that did it.
Yeah, well, it wasn't really nixed. It was like combined.
Right.
There's not Ultimate Comics
they brought
anymore.
Miles from Ultimate into the main 616 universe.
Right.
And at that point, they had Amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker went somewhere else, and then Miles was Spider-Man in New York. So I read the Secret Wars event, and then I picked up Spider-Man for the first 15, 20 issues after that, and then kind of fell off. So I was reading that stuff for a while.
Nice. I plan to get there eventually. I've read Secret Wars 2, but I have not picked up any of the other storylines yet.
Yeah, he's a fun character. All right, is it my turn, or is it back to me?
Yep, yeah, back to you. That's all I've got.
Okay. We talked about all the movies I was going to talk about. All right, I'll go TV. I bounce around between TV stuff, so there's not anything I'm really watching like religiously, but it's something we've never talked about on the show yet, so I wanted to at least bring it up. It's Star Wars Resistance. We talked about the trailers when they came out. The animation style for that show is still, I think, really unique compared to especially the other Star Wars shows that we've seen. Mm-hmm. Kind of like the 3D and yet still 2D cell shaded type of animation style is really cool.
Okay.
I haven't really been able to get into it as much as like Rebels and Clone Wars hooked me.
And that's like, still the case because I remember you saying that before and you were hoping for better.
We're over the halfway point of the season and I'm still like waiting for it to kickstart.
Waiting for the hook.
To like grab you. Like
yeah. Like the main character to me is just a doofus and it's really hard for me to care what the fuck happens to him because I think they play him so slapsticky and stupid. And granted, it's a kid's show. Kids probably love it. But for me, coming to it as an adult, I can't get behind him.
Well, and I feel like that's a little bit of the difference between Rebels and Resistance is that Rebels was a kid's show, kinda. I feel like Rebels was a kid's show made for adults to watch it.
Ezra started out pretty goofy. So
yeah, I think Clone Wars and Rebels both started kid-friendly, really, really in the kid zone, and then matured as they went on.
That's fair, but I don't know. I'd still argue that first moment when Kanan reveals himself is a very, very, very adult moment.
Yes, yeah. And yeah, there's not too... I don't feel like there's too much of that in this show. Now, they're currently... The timeline of this show is running right into the events of Force Awakens. So they are teasing the First Order growing in power. They are teasing the First Order mining planets for materials to build Starkiller Base. You see a couple test sites where they tried prototyping Starkiller Base. Poe shows up, voiced by Oscar Isaac, in a couple of the episodes. So he has the one main character sort of trying to sit at this, they call it the Colossus, but it's like a way station for pilots and smugglers and stuff like that. So he's trying to spy on the First Order from there because they got word that the First Order infiltrated the facility somehow. So they're trying to figure out what's going on. As he's there, the First Order presence continues to grow. They start to control the station. Poe eventually shows up to like take him on missions here and there for updates. And the last time Poe showed up, which was an episode or two ago, well, in the pilot, he leaves BB-8 with Kaz, who's the main character. So, nothing significant's going to happen because BB-8's on the station, so he can't play a part in the main events of Star Wars. So, the last time Poe showed up, he came back to collect BB-8 and talks about going to a mission on Jakku.
Okay.
So it's at the point in the timeline where shit's going to go down. And watching the mid-season trailer for Resistance, this feels like this is where I want to be. Is I want to see what happens to these characters in this show once Force Awakens happens. I feel like I've just been waiting for this build-up for something to go down, and it just hasn't happened yet. So I want to see where this goes the second half of this, second half of the season. But it's still, like I said, until I get that hook, it's still kind of a slog for me to get through, and I wish it wasn't the case, but I'm watching it purely because it's Star Wars, and I just want Star Wars content.
Honestly, I feel the same way about wanting the Star Wars content, and I'm just kind of biding my time until, fall, when the Disney streaming service launches.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of biding my time until then because of your reaction to Resistance.
And if the second half of the season picks up and goes where I want it to go or where I'd like it to go, it might make the whole rest of the season worth it. And I mean, like Andy was saying, Ezra, when he started out, was kind of not like it was hard to hook with Ezra. I feel like he was a little bit annoying. I hooked with Rebels based on other characters that were around, Kanan specifically.
Right, but Ezra kind of grows on you as he matures, yeah.
And I feel like they want to take Kaz that direction, but he's still this bumbling idiot that I feel like you've met at the first part of the season and hasn't really changed at all, that I want that character progression to give me someone to root for.
I feel like Ezra was meant to remind you a bit of Anakin. In being, a whiny little prick for quite some time there, who'd made, wrong decision after wrong decision. And I feel like it worked for what they were trying to do. So hopefully they can do the same thing and work that same magic in Resistance. But I guess time will tell. But I can tell you, me, like watching the first season of Rebels, I was not put off by it.
Right. Yeah. I like I said, I hooked on to Clone Wars and Rebels a lot sooner than I am hooked for Resistance. Resistance is taking me a while to really, really get into.
But you haven't,
and it's sad because
you haven't,
like we mentioned, Filoni was involved with this show too. He helped create Resistance. So I unless he just like got Resistance off the ground and then went to go develop and direct Mandalorian, so wasn't really involved too much with Resistance at this point, but I don't know. I was expecting a little bit more with his name attached.
But you haven't bailed on it, right?
I haven't bailed. No, I'm still watching. But it's more like a lot of the shows that I try to give a shot to that I'm still unsure of, I try to at least sit through the first season, because I feel like the first season always has an arc. They want to take characters and make storylines happen to a certain place. So I try to stick with it over the first season to see where it goes. If I still feel the same way after the end of the season, I don't know if I will immediately watch season 2. I might just wait and try to catch up with it later, but I'm hoping somewhere in the back part of the season it really kicks into gear and gets me excited again.
I mean, in defense of that, season 2 is what made Rebels.
For sure.
That season of Rebels is by far the best in my opinion, and it's what put the hooks in everyone in the Star Wars fandom to get them to keep coming back. The last season...
And the finale of season 1 was really fucking good, too.
Indeed. I'm just saying, like, I think it exploded with the finale of season 2. And that...
Oh, for sure,
that was the game changer for that, and that got me... like, before that, I was casually watching it when it popped up, and I was making time for it, but not really going far out of my way. After the end of season 2, I was waiting with bated breath for season 3.
Yeah.
So,
Andy, you were still kind of catching up to Rebels. Did you finish Rebels?
No, I still haven't finished it.
So you just need what, the final season or the last 2 seasons?
Ooh, it's only 3 seasons long, right?
4.
I may have seen season 2.
Okay, so you still have half of it at least.
I think the last thing I remember watching was Ahsoka versus... Well, no, spoilers, my bad.
Okay, so you're referring to what we're referring to. So that's the end of season 2.
Did you almost cry? Then you watched the end of season 2.
Or if you did cry, you're probably straight up in the end of season 2. All right, so you're halfway there. yeah, so that's sort of where I'm at with Resistance. Well, I can check back later, maybe after the season's over, or if something really catches me to hook me. But for right now, that's kind of where I'm at.
All right.
Okay.
So I'll throw it back to Andy.
All right. My next category is video games.
Elder Scrolls.
I have been playing a lot of Elder Scrolls still, yes. Since Bryan mentioned that, I'm pretty pumped for this season of the Elder Scrolls. They're calling it the Season of the Dragon. It's taking place in Elsewhere, which focuses a lot on the Khajiit, which is the cat-like creatures, or humanoid cat-like creatures in the Elder Scrolls lore.
Werecats.
Essentially, yeah. But dragons is something that Elder Scrolls hasn't really... Well, Elder Scrolls Online hasn't really tackled. So I'm pretty excited about that. That comes out...
It's really soon, isn't it?
Well, Wrathstone is the newest... Every DLC in this season, I think there's 3 or 4 of them in this year. It's congruent, like it tells the same story. Everything they've done in the past seasons has been like, okay, this is this thing, it's separate from this other thing, and whatever. So this is the first time they're trying to tell a complete story with all their DLC in one year. And Wrathstone is the first step of that, and it's new dungeon content, I believe. A couple new dungeons you can do with your buddies and whatnot. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I actually recently read an article about Elsewhere, and it may have turned me to start playing, because it said that you're going to be able to catch up and do the new content quickly, which was something that concerned me because I'm so far behind. If I were to start with ESO now, would it be 2 years of leveling up and gathering everything before I can finally fight the dragons that come out in this new content? And I think it was in Game Informer that I read the article that was explaining that, whether you just brand new purchase of Elsewhere or, a longtime veteran, you'll be able to get into this content fairly quickly.
I believe if you just pick it up right then and there, you can just start the Elsewhere content, right?
Well, I mean, I'd assume you still have to, make a character and level up a little bit to get into it without getting your butthole licked pretty good.
Probably, but everything scales no matter where you are.
Okay.
Except for dungeons, but like all the zones kind of scale to you.
Okay.
So no matter what zone you go to, even if you're level 2, like the monsters aren't going to just, like you said, lick your butt. But yeah, I'm pretty pumped about the Season of the Dragon. So
Mike didn't know how to react to that.
Well, the term is lick your butthole. Hearing lick your butt.
I forgot the whole part. My bad.
It just threw me. I was just like, I don't know what to do.
So I'm pretty pumped about that. Another game that I have been playing is the original Red Dead Redemption.
That's right. I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
So
I had never played.
You're playing Red Dead Redemption, not Red Dead Revolver, right?
Yes.
What's the difference?
Well, there was one before Redemption.
Red Dead Redemption.
Oh.
When you said original, I didn't know if you just were saying it that way or if... I was just trying to clarify.
I don't think it's anything like Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption is much more open world and Rockstar-ish.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, just to make sure I clarified.
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption 1, not the newest one. Not.
So how far into it are you?
So far I just like to run around, kill animals, and skin them and sell their shit. But I'm surprised, like for it's a 360 game, how well it plays on my Xbox One, and it looks like it probably could be an Xbox One game. Like
I think they enhanced it a little bit.
Yeah,
for the backwards compat stuff.
Okay, but it's pretty badass. Like I really like that game a lot. So
yeah.
I'm not super far in any kinds of the stories yet, so, but I'll tell you that the bounties can be somewhat difficult to try and like get them, and like lasso them and put them on your horse and
try not to kill them.
yeah, try not to kill them as you're racing back to town or whatnot. That can be kind of dicey, but it's a pretty fun game. I like it. It's wasn't sure how I was going to feel about the Western Old West type game and me playing it, because I'm not like a super fan of those. Like I like some of the old Clint Eastwood Man with No Name movies and whatnot, but
yeah.
But yeah, I really like it. It's got, you know, good music to it and got good fluent gameplay and whatnot. I suck serious ass at horseshoes, the little mini game that you do. Terrible at it, just fucking terrible. It's awful. It pisses me off every time. But besides that, it's a lot of fun so far.
I feel like personally I enjoyed the first game a lot more than the second, and I didn't play the first one a ton. The second I didn't enjoy as much as I did with the first one, because it felt maybe too expansive, too like overbearing on just like how much shit there is to do.
Yeah, the first one felt overwhelming, and 2 is like, what? Holy! I have to spend time doing this, and I have to go there for this, and what time is it now? Like, I can't. There's too much to do.
I heard it's kind of Simsy.
Yes, very much so. But more to what you were saying is the mini games inside these Red Dead games, you can get lost in for hours and hours and hours. You can not play the main game at all. I think I spent probably half the time I spent on Red Dead 2 just fishing. Just going around trying to find a legendary fish and catch it. And the same kind of thing in, you know, the first Red Dead. It's, you know, go around and just play all these cool-ass different little things to do that have like nothing to do with the story.
The knife finger game and the poker is a lot of fun, I think.
I think that they both make a comeback in the second one. I think the knife finger game's in the second one. Yeah.
And then the horseshoes. What else is there? There's another one. I can't remember.
Is there darts? Can you play darts somewhere?
I haven't yet, but that doesn't mean that.
I feel like that was in there.
I feel like it should be, but I could be thinking of GTA. I know it's in GTA.
That might be it then, because I'm trying to think of it and I'm not seeing it. Like, I'm feeling it, but I'm not seeing it. I feel like it's weird. But
yeah, I don't remember all the mini games in Red Dead 1.
The only thing that I think that annoys me about the Red Dead Redemption is I'll be running along trying to do things, and it's the weird little mini events that happen around you that like really piss me off. Like there's a girl, she's like, oh, you know, like my wagon, and then like 14 guys come out and attack you out of fucking nowhere, and you're like, what the hell, man? Or you'll just be like wandering around at night or something, and all of a sudden like 38 wolves appear, and you're like, I don't have this much ammo. Like,
yeah.
I feel like that's a Rockstar thing, man, because like,
okay,
I can.
Well, that's what makes the world feel alive. There's all these random events that happen as you're passing through.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I can remember like as far back as like Vice City trying to get the police helicopter to come in and chase you. You had to do like so much stuff before it would finally happen.
Yeah. But yeah,
I feel like I've told this story before, but one of my like gaming memories that is going to be forever burned into my head is playing the original Red Dead, and I was headed somewhere for some mission, and I remember hearing a couple guys arguing, and realized there was 2 guys going after one guy, and they were trying to hang him from a tree. And I just sat there once I realized what was happening for this random event, that I watched them hang him before I realized, wait, I can intervene and try to save this guy. So he died, and then I killed him. But I was so engrossed in like, oh, this is just kind of happening. I don't even have to do anything. I just couldn't move. I was transfixed in what was happening and let the guy die.
You were an audience to
and
a
then
lynching.
Felt guilty afterwards. Yeah, I didn't realize I could shoot the rope that was hanging him and get him down.
That's actually quite difficult to do when you're under fire and you're on a horse. To shoot that damn rope. Like the guy that's always like, they stole my wife, they're hanging her right now. And you're like following him over there, and all of a sudden like 18 people are shooting you, and they're like, hit the rope, and you're like, okay. Yeah, I'm going to do that right now.
Well, and I feel like that was something that, like specifically that Red Dead got over Red Dead 2 was the gunplay. Like Red Dead 2 gunplay was easy mode as fuck.
Really?
Like the auto, like you had to turn aim assist off if you wanted to actually enjoy yourself, because you could just pop in and out of cover and it just targeted you right on. think of like Time Crisis, where you like pop out of cover and you're auto aimed onto something. You just pop, shoot, and they're dead.
Right.
And then you just go back into cover and immediately back out, and you're auto aimed onto the next guy, and just repeat that process, and it just auto aims you onto each individual enemy, and it made it way too easy to pass things. So,
I mean, I guess you say that, but I died a lot in Red Dead 2. Go ahead, say it. I suck at that game. Go ahead, say it. And that's what you're thinking.
No. I was saying
trying to be
you
nice.
obviously weren't doing what I was doing. You
Brian
obviously
turned
weren't
the-
using that
You're
system.
not playing the game,
No,
right?
it's just you weren't using the easy mode way of doing it. If you turned off aim assist, you started to die a lot because it started to actually have difficulty.
Yeah, I don't remember if I messed with the settings or not. Either, yeah, I don't remember if I turned that aim assist off or if I just suck and can't hit anything whenever I'm in there. Or just try to take on too much at once, maybe. I would just run in places and be like, I'm going to fucking get... No, I'm dead.
Go ahead.
I remember what the last minigame that bothers the shit out of me is the duels. For some reason, I can't figure out like the flick up and flick down and fire all at the same time thing, and they're kicking the shit out of me right now. It's bad.
I feel like those were tricky until you got it down. Like once you did enough of them that you had that muscle memory.
But the thing, like, I can go practice like the horseshoes for like hours. And I can get better at it, you know? But, like, the duels only happen every so often when one guy's like, you think you're better than me? And then he starts fighting you, you know, or whatever. But like, until that happens, like, I can't practice that, you know? There's no, like a dual practice dummy or something, you know? Like,
which, honestly, they should have put something in there for that. That would have been nice.
Right. And, like, at your home base or something, there's just, like, a stupid dummy who's like, let's pretend he's a dueling guy. Oh, I'm better than you. And shoot him, you know? Like...
The way you say
Every
that...
impression Andy does sounds
I really,
the same.
you know, I really am going to need a hot take from you on the best part of Red Dead 2 if you get to that point, because there is one scene in there that is just... You'll love it. It was honestly the most fun I had with a video game, I think, last year, which is saying something because I didn't enjoy Red Dead 2 that much. But the one bar scene, it's beyond fantastic.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Basically, I'm not going to tell you anything more about it except you get hammered off your ass and you're wandering around a saloon looking for your friend, and you're so drunk you start seeing him everywhere. Like you're that pass out drunk.
That's funny.
And you're going, it's like a mission. It's an actual mission in the game that you have to find your friend. Story mission, like main story. So it's everybody that plays it experiences it, and it's fucking hilarious. Especially if you explore.
Yeah.
It's great. So I'll need your hot take on that when that time comes. I'll need to hear your impressions of what you see and hear there.
If you get there, the rate you're going, you're going to be on Red Dead 1 for a while.
Yeah.
There's a lot of content there.
And then one other video game that I've been playing that I was actually thinking about buying before they released it on Xbox Live Gold for free is Bloodstained Curse of the Moon.
Oh, interesting. I thought about this.
I think I downloaded that, but I haven't played it.
It's very Castlevania retro.
That's what I got from the screenshots.
Yeah. Except you get 4 characters you can kind of switch between. You get Zangetsu, who's like the typical Castlevania, just wields a sword, average jump, and doesn't really have any other abilities other than that. You know, it's the same spiel. Like you slash the lights, and they'll drop like weapons every once in a while that you can use your special weapon for. You have little 30 out of 60 special weapon left. Then you get this girl who's got a higher jump, a slide, and a whip, who has a couple other different things. I think her name is Maria. I could be wrong on that. You get this alchemist guy who has this little beat stick that has very small range, but he gets really cool special weapons for. He gets like these huge frost arrows, and
I love that it's a beat stick, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It's horrible. It's like you'd be
Billy Club.
You'd be better off punching things. It's awful. It's really hard to beat him and succeed without using his magic. And then you get this, I don't know if he's a demon or a vampire or something, but he turns into a bat and you can fly around the stage and stuff. It's pretty cool. But I recently beat it on casual last night, actually. And there's a nightmare mode that I just started, and it turns out that you don't get the main character with the sword anymore, you just have the other three. And let me tell you, this fucking game is hard without that dude. I like the second stage boss is kicking the ever living fuck out of me, and I remember just kind of like thinking he was like an afterthought the first time through. I was kind of like, oh, that boss was okay, you know. This time I'm like, what the fuck? This guy's kicking the shit out of me. He's throwing ice crystals and things are dropping on me, and he's spinning around and there's bubbles and fuck. So, but I don't know if you guys know this, but Bloodstained Curse of the Moon is actually the bonus game to a Kickstarter game for the actual game.
Oh, okay.
Wait, say that again.
Okay, so it's called, I believe it's called Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is the Kickstarter game that got released, and I believe it's one of the guys that originally worked on a lot of the Castlevania games. He's supposed to be like the godfather of the genre or something. And it got kickstarted, and they said that they would release this like neat little retro platformer game in the vein of Castlevania. And that's what Bloodstained Curse of the Moon is. They released it before the actual Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, like the actual AAA game that's supposed to be coming out.
Okay, so the AAA game is not going to look like this game.
No, it's actual graphics, but it's still the same style, I believe, like the platformer type thing.
Yeah.
And there's actually really cool trailers for both, so I would recommend checking out the trailers. Pretty cool. It's well, I mean, I'm assuming you both got it for free, so it's not going to cost you anything. You want to give it a try, but if you want a little bit of retro to you, I mean, it's got the cool retro graphics, cool retro music, storylines, little weak, but
retro.
but it's retro. You get a few little scrolling words, and then you're like, haha, here we go. But I think they did a good job incorporating a lot of neat things that you wouldn't expect from a retro game in this game. Like a lot of the boss's mechanics and stuff mechanically are pretty awesome, and I'm really looking forward to Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is the one that should be releasing that I believe is a AAA game. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to this. I believe it's slated for this year at some point.
Awesome.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if they coincide story-wise or not, but
yeah,
I can't say it enough. I've had a blast playing this game. So
especially for free.
For free. Fuck. Yeah, I was going to spend fucking, what was it, like $15 on it, and then it was like, one day I turned on my Xbox, and I'm like, download.
That's what happened to me with Celeste.
Of course.
Because I was like...
Today is what? The last day of February, so chances are it's not free by the time people hear this podcast.
Ah, fucking hell, man. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's the same exact thing happened to me with Celeste. I was about to buy it, and then popped up on Games with Gold. There you go.
Sometimes it's better to wait them out.
Yeah, I mean, I buy every game with gold. Like anytime there's a free game,
I claim
it. I claim it, but I don't download it.
Same here.
It's like, hey, we're downloading you, and I'm like, no, fuck you, exit.
Yeah, I
just
have a
want to
back
be
catalog
able
of
to
games with gold, and I know several of them I'm never going to play, but I just grabbed them because.
Yeah, like, hey, one day I might want to play this piece of shit, but because some of those games, honestly, they look like a piece of shit, really.
Yeah.
Some of them you're like, yeah, okay, well, it's free. All right. But this one, yeah, good times so far.
Awesome.
And
nice.
This second stage boss is going to be the death of me, but go ahead. That was my video game category.
All right, Mike, I think you're up.
I'll stick with the video game category, and I'll touch on Games with Gold as well for this month. And Brian, I texted you about this one on, just to make sure you didn't miss out on seeing it. Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy was up there, the original Xbox game.
I ended up, I didn't install it, but
Oh, I installed it, and I played it back in the day, and I'll be playing through it again. Probably thinking starting another like the new playthrough of that Monday. Can't wait to jump back into that game. It's been a long time, and it was an awesome experience the first time around. And gaming other than that, there's a couple games I've been playing. One I came back to recently is a mobile game called Marvel Contest the Champions. The company that runs it has gotten quite a bit less predatory with their practices, called Kabam. And now, actually, thankfully, due to the changing status of the X-Men and Fantastic Four and all that, they're being incorporated into the game finally. So, for those who don't know, the Contest of Champions is a 2D fighter, gesture-based, but it's much, much deeper than many of the other ones I've played. The combat system actually requires you to pay attention, to know things, to parry, to intercept attacks, to actually play it like a fighting game with simple gestures. It's a lot of fun. It's a collecting game just as much as it is a fighting game. And definitely worth hopping into and trying. You can play for free, and it's a lot more forgiving than it was years ago when I quit playing the first time, because the company that was running it then was just flat out fucking evil with how they handled things, and they're no longer quite so evil, so definitely a shift to the improving nature there. Onto my early vote for Game of the Year, which I hope the game I talk about after trumps that over, but is Resident Evil 2 Remake. I keep trying to start up other games, and I keep going back and saying, just one more playthrough on Leon B or on Claire A, or just something where it's just so much damn fun to play this game. And seeing how fast you can make a run through, just like, the original Resident Evil 2 is amazing. And I've told everybody that can hear it, play this game. It is not a simple paint job upgrade for Resident Evil 2, the way that I feel like the first Resident Evil remake kind of was a paint job upgrade. This is much more of a complete overhaul. This game was rebuilt from the ground up. Mr. X is an annoying bastard in every mode now, not just B scenarios, which is just... Some people might be annoyed by it, but I find it just outright fun that he puts you under pressure for the entire time after your first encounter with him. I'm pretty much ready to move on from that game, thankfully, because I did finally get my S Plus on hardcore. That's... Hardcore mode is kind of like just what Resident Evil used to be. You have to use ink ribbons to save, and that's pretty much it. Like, enemies are tougher, but you don't get auto saves like you do with the other two modes. You have to go back to actually using ink ribbons again. And S Plus required, I think it was under 2.5 hours to beat it to get the hardcore S Plus and unlock the unlimited rocket launcher. Which, I played through again with the unlimited rocket launcher just because I didn't do all that work not to just blow shit up for fun for a while. And honestly, the rocket launcher is so satisfying in that game. You hit a zombie and it just explodes into a million pieces. It's wonderful. Other than that, I've been replaying Dark Souls and Bloodborne to prepare for the upcoming release of Sekiro, which comes out March 22nd.
That game looks really cool.
I cannot soak up enough From Software content. The games they've made so far have kind of like progressed in difficulty. To the point where like Bloodborne is definitely the hardest game in the series. It's unfortunate for me that it's PlayStation only because I struggle with a PlayStation controller a lot more than I do with Xbox. But it just keeps stepping it up, and it looks like Sekiro is like that next step in difficulty. And yeah, everything I see of the game. It's one of the few games I've pre-ordered for a physical copy in a long time. And I think with the pre-order, I'm getting a katana letter opener, which looks kind of fucking awesome.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean, like, I asked...
Does it have a sheath and everything?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it has, like, a stand.
Nice.
And, like a sheath. So it's like a little mini display sword, but it's a letter opener that I'll never use, because who the fuck uses a letter opener? Who the fuck gets letters?
You're going to walk around your house and be like, I'm a giant with a small katana.
I wasn't until you said that. Now I'm definitely going to do it. It's Sekiro is my most anticipated game for this year, without a doubt. I think I was talking to Bryan the other day when I said, the Dark Souls games of the last decade, that's my favorite game series. And Sekiro, while it's not going to be a game that falls into the same, I'd say, even category as Souls games, the combat's going to fall into that category, but the difference upcoming with Sekiro, the main difference is that we get a narrative-focused adventure here, where our character is not one that we create. We do not pick up different weapons throughout the world to use and choose our own build. A lot of those type of RPG elements have been taken out, but it looks like they've done that in part for the story and in part so that they can ramp up the difficulty based on the specs of your individual character. And I'm really looking forward to diving into that head first and seeing just how difficult the game is, just what all's there for us to play. And, the guy in charge is, Hide Miyazaki, sorry. Anything that guy's been involved in so far is a complete smash hit for me in my taste, so, I can't wait. And I encourage anybody to try it. Even if it looks really difficult, it's going to be fun.
Is that all platforms?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thankfully...
Yeah, I didn't know if it was going specific to PlayStation or something.
No, thankfully not. Bloodborne's the only one they did that was. I'm not really sure why that is. But Bloodborne is a game, if you haven't played, that is so good to not be missed by any gamer. I want to say Game Informer on its recent top 300 games of all time had it at like number 30. So, top 10% game of all time. I'd say that's a pretty good gauge for that one.
Yeah.
Definitely one not to miss. Difficulty spike is really high for that one compared to the others, but it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it for the story, for everything, especially if you like Lovecraftian horror. Bloodborne is right there. If you like the more...
Gotcha.
I want to say Sekiro, they said it's going to be similar to Tenchu. Those games, which I never played. But more stealth, ninja focus kind of stuff than previous installments. Yeah. So, I mean, that for me, for gaming, that's pretty much what I've been doing. Well,
gotcha. All right, so I guess I'll just stick with the gaming trend. Because I haven't really been reading anything. And I'll try to burn through some of these, because some of these are just the same crap that I've been sort of playing all the time. Still playing Destiny. They're getting more content probably around the time this episode comes out, which is Tuesday for us, this coming Tuesday. I know Mike's not too thrilled about it. It's more Gambit stuff, mainly, is the focus, which I don't mind Gambit, so I'm curious to see how this plays out and if Gambit feels any different or better. We'll see how that goes. I'm reserving judgment until I play it, so we'll see what happens if we want to revisit that in some capacity later. I am trying to get through my second playthrough of Spider-Man on PS4. I'm going through my last 2 trophies, which are complete a New Game Plus playthrough and complete on Ultimate difficulty.
Is it difficult?
So it's not as difficult as you'd expect. I think it's more just because you get hit and it hurts a lot more. So you might be able to take like 2 or 3 hits before you're dead. So yeah, I feel like I die a little bit easier, but I'm still making it through. I'm somewhere maybe like midway through the third act, so I'm almost done.
Oh.
Probably just got to sit down for a good afternoon and finally finish it. I'm bypassing every little like side mission. I'm just playing complete story missions because I think that's all that is required for that. I don't want to get bogged down in doing all the side missions and collectibles that I've already done.
Don't they help you level up a lot
for
that game though? And that
maybe, but I mean, like once you hit the cap, it's like it takes you so much experience to level up, and then it only gives you one more hit point and one more melee damage after you hit the cap.
Oh, okay. So on your New Game Plus, so it's okay.
Yeah,
never mind.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
So I incorporated my leveled up character and started with him with all the suits and everything unlocked and all the gadgets and everything that I'd bought. So I had everything there. I was just trying to beeline it through the story.
So do you feel like that mode is forcing you to use more diverse combat, per se, than the normal mode was? Because that was my only issue with normal difficulty with Spider-Man, was that I felt like you didn't have to be very intuitive with your combat choices.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still running with my staples. I'm not really switching it up too much, doing stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I think I expected it to be harder. I'm surprised I'm getting through it as easily as I feel like. But yeah, you definitely take more damage. Like even trying to defend against either I can't remember. I think I have like the bullet damage defense up, so I don't want to get shot and die. Because without that, I feel like you get shot twice and you're done. But at least I can take like 3 or 4 hits before I'm down. But if I get close enough for someone to smack me in the face, I'm dead in like 2 hits because I don't have melee damage on or melee defense.
See that I used both of those for like the 2 that you could use.
Yeah, I think I did like bullets and rockets because those fucking lock-on rockets piss me off, and I always seem to get hit when I'm not paying attention.
I didn't have as much trouble with the rockets. It was the guys with the auto rifles that were like the bane of my existence in that game at times.
And I'm not planning on going through all the DLC content because some of those bigger guys with the miniguns and the DLC content were the bane of my existence for the people you had to fight. Those guys were fucking terrible. I had a hard time with them. So I think I avoid them if I just beeline through the story and don't do DLC stuff. So once the trophies are checked off, I'll probably put the game down for a while until probably I watch Spider-Verse and want to be Spider-Man again, and then I'll just fire it back up. The other game that I have been bouncing around between is Far Cry 5. I picked that up on sale somewhere around Christmas, so I've been trying to chip away at that story and play that game. Those games are always fun. There's another game that's open world that you get a lot to do, side missions and collectibles and all that stuff. And those games, when you play them, they're first-person shooters, but you are stuck in first person. When you drive cars, you are stuck in first person. You cannot pull the camera out to third person to see where you're driving. Cutscenes are all in first person, so it's a very immersive experience, I feel like, when you play those games. And they always have really good villains. The last 3 especially.
I feel like with Far Cry 5, I spent so much time exploring that wilderness area just so I could fly fish. Because it was just like, I can fly fish in this game? And there's all these different crazy fish. Okay, I'm in. And then I felt like I wasted so much time that I may have actually completed that storyline if it wasn't for the fishing distracting me so much.
So you haven't finished the game yet?
No, I have not finished it yet because I'm not kidding.
Okay.
I probably spent a solid 20-25 hours just fishing. Just because it was a phenomenal fishing mechanic that they put in the game.
Yeah, that hasn't been that much for me. But yeah, it is easy to get distracted. I think I'm like... I did one of the brothers. I'm like halfway through the second brother, and I still have to do the sister and then go after the main guy.
Okay.
So I'm still got a good chunk of stuff to do, but yeah, it is really enjoyable. I like that franchise. I have heard mixed things about New Dawn, which was the one they just released this month.
Okay.
Which seems like it's a direct sequel to Far Cry 5, from what I gather.
I haven't read much about it personally, so I'll take your word for that.
Because I think it's the same area, but I think at least from watching the trailer from New Dawn, it basically spoils, I think, the ending of Far Cry 5.
Oh, really?
So, like, New Dawn feels Fallout-y. The trailer for New Dawn opens with a nuclear weapon going off, and you're just stuck in the aftermath, and you... So, obviously, something happens at the end of Far Cry 5 to trigger a nuclear explosion or some sort of bomb going off there to fuck everything up. So,
sure.
We'll see what happens when I get there. Yeah, and then the only other thing I'm looking forward to, Division 2. I have held off on Anthem, even though I was really, really hyped for that game. It hasn't been getting reviewed very well.
No, it hasn't.
Everybody's bitching about shortness of content and endgame
buggier than the Canadian wilderness in summertime.
That too. So I as much as I wanted to get it day one, I decided to wait. I'm glad that I did. I probably will pick it up when it goes on sale, and I'm hoping by then they've ironed out some of the bugs and it's a little bit more of a solid experience. Because even I played the demo for like an hour and a half, and it looks really pretty. Having your own type of Iron Man suit feels really cool at first. I don't know if that gets old after a while, but the initial experience was really fun.
I feel like it's not the gameplay you mean at all, because the gameplay in the demo was fun. The gameplay looks amazing. It feels fun. It you've got a lot of options with 4 different types of suits, and it has a lot of positives going on there. But then when you find out the game launches and they're doing a game as a service type of thing with this, just like Destiny or the Division, which are the 2 games that it gets compared to the most because they're looter shooters, and it's a matter of it launched with something like, if you play it properly, 10 to 15 hours of story content, right, which is abysmal for a game that's supposed to be what it is. There's no in-game content available for it yet. And I feel like this is another case of EA pushing a title out the door sooner than it should have been pushed out the door.
I know, and I really do not... I'm crossing my fingers this does not lead to EA shutting BioWare.
It's not performing well, so an EA is quite reactionary.
Right. So I'm hoping they're going to give it the benefit of the doubt, and they've invested this much money in it that they can just let it sit there. EA is making a shit ton of money off all their sports titles and microtransactions and other games that hopefully they're making enough money to let the studio go and see what happens with this. But
it's not like BioWare has a bad track record as far as money goes for them.
I don't know. Their last 2, counting this as one and Mass Effect Andromeda, both underperformed drastically. So
true.
Considering those are both supposed to be AAA titles that are supposed to make millions of dollars for that company, I don't know.
I feel like right now they're definitely in a big hole with Anthem because they were supposedly working on this for, 6 years? Some ridiculously long time.
From what I understand, Andromeda did not do well. And at that point, they pivoted to Anthem. I think Andromeda was supposed to do more, they wanted it to catch on and was probably going to lead to more Mass Effect games.
Right.
And when Andromeda underperformed, they pivoted to focus on Anthem.
Okay. Everything that I read on Anthem was that it was 5-6 years in development to get to where they're at.
And they might have had people working on Anthem concurrently with Andromeda, and then the team from Andromeda just went to Anthem post Andromeda. Because Andromeda, I think, was only 3 or 4 years ago, so that would have been right in the middle of the development cycle for Anthem.
Yeah, and I mean, Anthem, I think, is something that you have to talk about just because it's an example of how not to launch a game. It's not that the gameplay is bad. It's not that the story's bad. It's just you bill it as one thing and you release it without enough, and that's going to get a lot of flack from gamers, because gamers that want that type of game want games they can dump hundreds of hours into. Right. And it's not that.
Yeah, so that compared to the Division 2, which is a game I'm looking forward to. I think that's the one I'm pretty sure I'm going to buy day one. I think they're advertising and marketing that one very well. Open beta is this weekend, which will be this past weekend when this episode comes out. So I'm anxious to dive in and see what that feels like trying it this weekend.
I'm sure I'll hop.
But I really like the first Division. I really like the first Division. So I'm in the setting for this Like, it doesn't feel... It's an urban environment, but they're adding more variety to it, where it's not just city streets everywhere.
Yeah, that was...
And you're stuck in the city.
I feel like that was my biggest issue with the first Division. The environments did not feel very diverse, and I got bored with it very quickly because of that.
Yeah.
I think I told you before, though, I'm also not a third-person shooter kind of guy. If I'm going to play a shooter, I do prefer first-person.
And at least, like, the Division has been marketing already what their year one content drops are going to be. So the first year of content, they will have a bunch of free episodes for people to play. And endgame activities they've ironed out. So they have a plan in place. I think they learned a lot from Division 1 to figure out what people want and how to keep people invested in this game. So that already has me excited. And so I'm looking forward to what that game is.
The 8-man raid that they talked about caught my attention.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot they were going to say that was going to get my attention for Division 2, but an 8-man raid caught my attention away.
That's double the amount of players that those endgame activities were for Division 1. They were only 4, so considering you're doubling the player count to put people in there, I don't know what the hell they got planned, but that sounds crazy as fuck.
Yeah, 8 people having to go in together, that to me sounds like something that's going to be extremely challenging, which is why it gets my attention, is because I want to go into that. I want stuff that challenges me to think while I'm playing these type of games. And if they can do that, I'm down.
Andy, any interest in Division 2?
I didn't play the first one, so...
I don't think you need to. Like, I really think if you wanted to play this, you could just jump into 2 and you'd be fine. It's not like any progress or anything carries over to the second one.
Oh, I know, but it's not the first one didn't really grab me to play, so I'm betting that the second one won't really grab me to play.
That's fair.
All right. I'm just thinking if Mike and I try to fill an 8-man roster, we need some friends to play with.
You may need to look elsewhere than me.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm going to have this game right away either.
Because I'll probably be playing elsewhere.
I was going to say that the Division's launching around the same time as Sekiro.
No, okay.
Well, when it goes on sale, I'll be texting both of you.
I'm sure you will.
That it's now $30. Please pick it up. All right, so that's actually the end of my list. I got nothing else. So I'll throw it back to Andy if you guys want to go through anything
I just have a couple of quick ones. I've been reading book 2 of the Chris Claremont and George Lucas sequels to the movie Willow.
Oh.
Okay.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's a trilogy. The books go Shadow Dawn. I'm sorry, Shadow Moon, Shadow Dawn, and then Shadow Star are the 3 books. I'm on Shadow Dawn. And it's pretty solid. I mean, Chris Claremont, he has a lot of notoriety in the comics world even. And
he's a legend.
George Lucas, can't really go wrong there either. And I love...
Right, though, so I'm surprised he's listed as an author.
Well, it says story by George Lucas, written by Chris Claremont, so...
That makes more sense.
Yeah, I think he was just kind of like, hey, do this, and get him to do that, and
Think about all the green screen I could put in there.
So. It's pretty good. I really like it. I'm looking forward to finishing this book and going to the 3rd book. And I wanted to point out with that I recently saw a Chris Evans tweet about, as an actor, who would you sell your soul to be? I saw your retweet.
Yes.
Yeah. Who would you... I can't remember how they put it, but it was Joseph Gordon-Levitt that asked it. It said, "Who would you want to be in the past?" Like, it was like
who you could sell your soul to play one role.
Yeah,
what would that role be?
And his instant response was Mad Mardigan from Willow, hands down. And I was like, yes, because Val Kilmer killed that. He killed it, and that movie was so awesome. And that's why I'm reading these books. And I suggest that if you like the movie as well, that the books are very good. Excellent. And then the only other thing after that is played a card game on tabletop card game called the Oregon Trail card game.
Oh, nice.
I've seen that places.
Yeah. I think it's a Target exclusive.
Did you die of dysentery?
Multiple times. Yeah, I don't think I've gotten past like the first fucking bend on the way on the way to Oregon.
Your wagon's flooded.
The way
You
the
tipped
game's set
wagon.
up, you need a lot of people. You need like 6 people or 4 people. I can't remember how many people play. I think it's 5, 6, something like that. But the more people you have, the more people you can kill off on your way to the Oregon Trail. And if one person wins, everyone wins. Well, Emily and I have been playing it with 2 people, and you know what? She dies of a snake bite, and I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Like the 3rd card in, I'm sure it's going to be dysentery. And oh no, it was the 5th card. So, oh yeah, I died of dysentery. So I'm looking forward to playing that with some more people, so that maybe we can make it to fucking Oregon. But
so what he's saying is he'll buy the Division 2 if we go and play Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
Sold. I will die of dysentery
Absolutely
numerous times if it gets you to play Division.
There's an expansion. It's a standalone and an expansion. I think it's called Oregon Trail: The Hunt for Food. I haven't tried that one yet, though. So hopefully, I get to kill some squirrels.
I feel like anybody that's like 25 and younger has no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
I hate it when you
guys don't know. That was the only game that was on like school computers back in the day.
Yep. But that's all I've been really up to. So.
In terms of the tabletop card game, you actually reminded me. Amy and I picked up Boss Monster.
That is a great game. I love that game. I have it, and I have most of the expansions. I haven't played the expansions yet, but the original is really good.
I have the 2nd edition. Like I have the first Boss Monster, and then I have the
the mini bosses.
I have that, and then I have the silver box as well, which is just like the 2nd version of the main game. It's like as opposed to like the Rise of the Mini Bosses added different mechanics to it. So you add like a mini boss to a room, and there's coins in the Rise of the Mini Bosses, and it's a whole different mechanic. You can play it by itself or add it to the main game. But the silver box is just a big addition to the first game.
Okay.
Or you could play it by itself. Yeah, I mean, it's a completely contained game or an addition. What we haven't bought yet is any of the little ones that come in like the Game Boy size packs.
Oh yeah. I have those. I just I haven't. I've played the original one, and I just haven't busted any of the other ones open. But I love the original, so I can't imagine I would hate any of the other ones. So.
Well, we may have to get together and play this sometime because Boss Monster is amazing. And
it's really good. Yeah.
It's.
Can you quickly explain what it is for people that don't know what that is?
Sure. It's a card game, and what you're trying to do is set up a dungeon. In a video game, you actually are playing the villain. You're trying to kill the heroes, and you're using your dungeon to do that. So you get a boss card, which is mostly just kind of to determine who goes in what order. It has one ability that gets used once in the game, which can be really valuable if it's done properly, but it's still just there, and they're cool as art on these cards. Like it's old video game
retro, like old Nintendo type, 8-bit type awesomeness.
Yes, and it has all these just ridiculous tropes of rooms for the games. Like you'll go in and it's the I can't remember like the names, but the ones like the something smasher, and it's just a room that like you can destroy this room to kill somebody that's in the room.
Yeah,
it looks like the giant like twisting spikes from Super Mario World. Like the things that come down from the ceiling. It just like looks like that's in the room. But it has all kinds of different ways to do it. But basically your goal is to lure heroes to your dungeon and then to kill them in your dungeon.
And then the person who lures and kills the most heroes worth the most amount of points at the end of the game wins.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think they listed as like you have to, if you're playing, you either get 5 wounds and you're out, which is 5 heroes that survive your dungeon. They don't die. They don't take enough hit points through your dungeon. And
it's
then you
harder
take a
than it
wound.
sounds as well.
Oh, especially when the spell cards come in and you can fuck with other people's dungeon.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I can kill that guy, and then you're like, oh no, I can't do shit to that guy now.
It'll just be like, oh, I can negate this room for a turn on you, haha. And or you play a spell card that's like an insta kill on somebody, and somebody has a spell card to negate it. It's amazing.
It's brutal, yeah. A lot of fun though. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's definitely worth picking up and having fun, and it's an easy game to learn.
Yeah,
I imagine it's quite hard to master. But anybody, even if you're new to tabletop card games, you can pick this up and learn it pretty quick.
Cool. Andy, do you have anything else, or you got through your list?
That's all I got.
All right, Mike, you got anything else to finish off with?
No, I'd call that my last thing because I didn't even know it was actually there until he reminded me of the tabletop games, and I was like, oh, I have to talk about that. So.
Yeah, hashtag boss monster. Awesome. Start a trend.
All right, well, I guess that's where we'll close it down. If you've enjoyed... Yeah, this went way longer than I expected it to. I think we're pushing... When do we start? Yeah, we're over 2.5, just about 2.5, I think. It's going to be close. That for what I thought might be like an hour and a half, we're way over track here.
So before you start signing us off, Brian, I have to ask.
Yeah.
Since we have, a good following in Chile...
We did.
I did forget to do that in the intro. I completely forgot.
I was wondering if Mike is still doing the sweet and savory couple.
Indeed, I am.
Okay, so maybe he can make us a Bry Guy and his Super's Friends chili in honor of our chili fans.
Yeah, so let me quickly. I completely forgot about the intro. And
That's
I
not cool. It's fucking Chile, and Chile ain't never been cool.
The other day, I got an email from some podcast stat tracking site that told us we were 67th ranked in the film and TV podcast for Chile. Not anywhere else, just Chile. And that was news to me, so I sent it off to these guys. And then later that day, by the time we checked the link, we had dropped to 115.
Yep. And they sent us the email late because if you look at the graph that it graphed us at, we were top 50 there for one day.
Yeah. It was going down. We were exponentially falling.
Yes,
in Chile.
but we started on it like 48.
I don't know what we did to piss you off, but I am sorry.
I imagine that swings pretty quickly on 3 or 4 views. Or
yeah, it's probably just the same 5 people listening here and there. That week we only had 2 or something.
Yeah, I mean that would be my guess. And unfortunately, I don't know whether or not they speak Spanish or Portuguese in Chile, so I'm not sure how to thank them.
It's all gibberish
so
the whole
thank
way.
you.
Yes.
Gracias, or however they say thank you in Chile, because I don't know how to say it in Portuguese.
I meant to intro us all as International Pop Sensations because I feel like that's what we are now. That's an official title.
Yeah.
So just think, if we can get Koreans involved, we could get Ian back on the show, and he could actually be a K-pop star.
I say we just send him over there and just let him do some on-site reporting and just get him out of here.
Doesn't somebody do that? Doesn't somebody send like really kind of off-the-wall people to weird places, and then they're like, yeah, let's see what happens?
Probably. I think Ian would fit in perfect over there.
You know what? I don't care where we send him to. I want Ian to do some on-site reporting for us from
that
somewhere.
Would be awesome. It'd be so great.
Trisha Takanawa.
I just want to hear Ian just talking to random people on the street, just asking them questions about something.
Do you want to buy some magazines? Shit.
So,
all right,
Mike, Super Friends Chili.
All right.
In honor of Chili.
I will, you know what? I am perfectly willing to do that, and maybe that can be our lunch when we're over at Josh's place.
Oh, it sounds like as long as it doesn't make me go to the bathroom 20 times.
Well, I'm going to work it out this way. It's going to be Super Friends chili because I'm going to take an ingredient that each one of you recommends, and I'm going to use it in the chili.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
I don't know if that sounds good or not.
Well, It'll be to a certain extent. If somebody's just an
Okay.
asshole and is like,
It's
put
like
Carolina
James
Reapers in it, I'm going to say no.
Scorpion pepper.
For whatever reason, my first reaction was like fruit roll-ups. Incorporate some
Oh,
fruit
fucking
roll-ups.
God. What the hell are we going to be eating? We're definitely going to be shitting our brains out, all of us.
As long as it doesn't make me shit.
This is
Put some
Ian
fruit
live
roll-ups
from
in the
toilet.
It's one of those games of chicken just to see if you actually do it. If I suggest anything, will you go and see what happens?
If you guys promise to eat it, I will promise to cook it.
Oh, this just turned into a very deadly and serious game.
Naga Jalaki.
All right, I'm signing us off before we keep talking about this. If you've enjoyed the show, please stop by iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Be sure to share, subscribe, favorite the show. As always, you can find us on Facebook. Search Bryan and Super Friends or go to facebook.com/Bryan Super Friends. You can send us questions, comments, topic suggestions. You want to join the conversation, that's probably the best way to do it. I'm not even sure if it's worth saying the email because I never check it. BryanandSuperFriends@gmail.com, or you can find us at Twitter @BGSuperFriends. That one I will check. On behalf of Andy, Mike, and myself, thank you for listening. We talked way too long, and we'll talk to you next time.
Vote Quimby.